Oh man, it is finally here. Welcome everyone to episode 1 of the Cannons and Tomahawks podcast. I am Zach Martin. Along with me is my good buddy, Alex Nuttall. Alex, man, how are you doing on this fine Saturday night? And man, we're finally here, dude. Episode 1. Man, how you feeling, man?
I'm awesome, man. It's pretty exciting. Hockey's here. That's the only thing I really care about, to be honest with you. But hey, it's another great day, and we got a bunch of stuff to talk about. We got a lot.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just looking at just our episode 1 rundown, we got a lot of stuff. Trades, contract signings, divisions got names now. I mean, it's just pure insanity. And then we got predictions later on tonight, and a lot of big news. Former Blackhawks retiring, and current Jackets getting some extensions on their contracts. I mean, dude, it's gonna be a fun episode. It's crazy because we were just talking about last week about starting this podcast, and now here we are 1 week later, and we're finally doing one. So
I think it helps.
I'm pretty excited.
Last week, man, there's a lot of stuff that's happened too. There's a lot of stuff that's happened league wide, but even just between the Blackhawks and the Blue Jackets, it's crazy.
Yeah. Perfect time to start a podcast is
Absolutely.
Basically 4 or 5, I think it's 4 days before the season actually starts. And we just finished the week of preseason games and stuff like that, or not. Well, training camp hockey, as we'll call it. But, unless you're the Toronto Maple Leafs and you acting like it's an actual, Stanley Cup playoff game, which
goodness.
I know we have some other stuff to talk about real quick, but you show me that on Twitter, and I'm like, seriously, it's a training camp scrimmage, and they're acting like it's a playoff game.
It doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't even make any sense to me. They're going in, and John Tavares scores a goal, and John Tavares goes, he scores! Like, guys, come on. Nobody cares. It's preseason. It's your training camp. What does it matter? Now, again, Blue Jackets fan, I have no room to talk. We have 8th grade students running our stuff, but still, it's a little ridiculous.
It just proves to you how extra Toronto is for the fact that they go that hard and they're going super deep analysis on certain plays and stuff. And I'm like, the Blackhawks, we have our radio announcer guys, and they even said we're not really going to do a normal radio broadcast. We're just going to talk about certain guys. We're not going to do play-by-play because there's no point. So for the fact that you see Toronto doing that, it's like, all right, there we go. I'm not shocked. I'm not 100%. Shocked whatsoever.
No surprise. No surprise.
Yeah. But before we actually get into our first topic of the show, we are going to take a quick moment of silence to honor the late John Muckler, who just recently passed away. He used to be an Oilers coach where he did win 5 Stanley Cups with them. He unfortunately passed away at the age of 68. So we're going to do a quick moment of silence in his honor for the late John Muckler. All right, so a lot of big, crazy news happened today. There's a lot of stuff to go over. So let's just do some, quick guys getting, new contracts, extensions, and stuff like that. We do have a Blue Jackets one, but we are going to save that for our third period segment. So let's talk about Matt Barzal. I mean, Oilers re-signed him for 3 years, and I'm hearing an AAV of $7 million per. I mean, I know it's less than the $10 million that he was asking for, but I mean, still, it does definitely change things up for the East now that Barzal is actually signed with the Islanders, because no one knew how the Islanders were going to be if they didn't have him, but now they do, and they got him for 3 years. Alex, I mean, what are your thoughts about Barzal staying with the Islanders for 3 years at $7 million?
Honestly, his contract doesn't surprise me one bit. It's a $7 million AAV. The first year it's a $4 million, $6 million in year 2, and then his third year is a $10 million AV. Well, I think why the Islanders like that contract is because in that third year he's still going to be a restricted free agent, so they still have his rights, but he's arbitration eligible. So if I remember correctly, it was about an $8.1 million qualifying offer that they have to offer him, and that's a minimum. So he's going to make at minimum that 8.1 with most likely he's going to get up to that 10 or $11 million range. And
yeah,
if they're good, he could be getting a 7 or 8 year, 10, 11, maybe $12 million contract. And I think that contract will lead the way for quite a few other guys. You know, for example, like Dubois, his contract, that could be based off of what Barzal's getting now and what he could get in the future too.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And you think about it, it's just how they basically backloaded this contract too. It's like they could actually still go out this year and next year to get more guys before his 10 million, kicks in. And the Islanders, if they really wanted to, they could probably find a way before that contract's up to move them to whatever team that wants to take on that $10 million contract if they really want to. I mean, it's a pretty solid deal for the Islanders. I mean, yeah, it's a lot less than what Barzal wanted, but for whatever reason, it kind of just worked out to where he got $7 million. I know he wanted the 10, but I guess taking that 7 AAV and then, just having it in different stages, I mean, it makes sense. That definitely, like I said, changes things for the East in general for the Islanders, because without their start player, who knows how the Islanders are going to do this year. But we will get to our season predictions later in the show. But this definitely does make things interesting. There's a lot of other off-season moves. Like, is there any ones in particular that caught your eye this year? Like just off-season signings or trades? I know Zdeno Chara, that was pretty huge for the Capitals. I mean,
I can say I did not see that one coming. Because for the last year, all I've seen is Chara saying that, I don't want to play with anyone other than the Bruins. I only want to be in Boston. I only want to be in Boston. And then all of a sudden, hey, I just signed with the Capitals. I mean, his explanation makes a little bit of sense, where they wanted to move forward with the franchise without him. And okay, but I would have kept him on your team, because from his leadership to being 6'9" with a stick that's like 37 feet long, it's insane. That was interesting.
What Steve Dangle calls it as a redwood oak tree for a stick.
Yeah, that's 100% accurate. Absolutely accurate. The signings overall, I know Chara was an interesting one. It was same with Lundqvist. Who else? We had Braden Holtby going to Vancouver. That was pretty interesting as well. I'd say out of all of them, and this is me being biased here, the biggest trade that I saw was the Josh Anderson to Montreal for Max Domi. That
was surprising. That was a little bit surprising, because Josh Anderson's really good. I liked him in the playoffs where it was the Jackets against the Bruins, and Anderson was just taking none of Marchand's crap. And I thought finally someone's going to do something about it. And I was really shocked that the Jackets moved him. But I mean, hey, getting Max Domi though, really can't be upset. I mean, it stinks to lose Anderson, but getting Max Domi, I'm not really bad if you think about it.
Yeah, I'm happy with it. I am. It fills needs, and I could touch a little bit more on that later, but I think it filled the need for both teams, what they needed. It sucks losing Josh, because he was such a powerhouse in the playoffs we had where we swept Tampa, and he was a game changer. Yeah. But he unfortunately got hurt last year, and there's not much we can do about it.
Right. I think another one too is, how about Markstrom going from Vancouver to Calgary? I think that's going to be an interesting how that's going to work out for the the Flames, with having him there now, and with all the Canadian teams playing together. And we didn't even talk about this with Chara. Chara's got to play Boston, I think, like 8 or 9 times this year. So that's going to be. Yeah. I'm curious to see if Chara's going to do the same thing to the Bruins that he basically did for the Bruins, and basically just play the Bruins way with the Capitals, because we all know what the Bruins way is. They're going to get under your skin. They're going to work you, and they might add a little something on certain plays.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. Pietrangelo, I think he went to Vegas and stuff like that. So and now Vegas gets to play the Blues. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of awkward, a lot of awkward situations with some former players now replaying their old teams.
That one was definitely
structured divisions.
I was surprised and also not surprised to see Pietrangelo go to Vegas with everything that was leading up to it, and then signing that 7-year deal. And then Vegas just decided to go, hey, well, we want to go $39 million over our salary cap. Okay, well, fine, because now them and Tampa are screwed. There's a bunch of teams that are, Tampa's terrible right now, but it's interesting. Another one I was pleasantly surprised to see was Torrey Krug going from Boston over to St. Louis.
Yeah, that was also surprising for sure. Like, you wouldn't think that you would see Torrey Krug jumping to somewhere else, more especially the Blues after what happened in the 19 Cup final. But I mean,
yeah, that was pretty surprising to me, to be honest with you. But I think I don't want to say he was treated poorly in Boston because I don't know the situation,
no.
But the rumor mill was that he wasn't treated great, and the Blues just lost Pietrangelo. So what better than to sign another free agent defenseman who they need, and they know him very well from the finals. So
yeah, just overall thing about that defense. I mean, you got Justin Falk, who was there from the Carolina trade. Like you just said, they just picked up Krug. I mean, they pretty much still have almost their entire group of guys there. It's gonna be interesting to see what the Blues do now with that, and then Vegas getting Pietrangelo, that's just gonna help their defense even better as well. So those are gonna be some interesting games between the Blues and the Golden Knights. I'm still a little bit miffed though that the Blues are in the West and not the Central, even though the Blues are technically closer to the rest of the Central teams than Dallas.
Yeah,
because you look at a map, it doesn't make any sense why the Blues would go to the West and Dallas would go into the Central. And a lot of people are saying, oh, well, I think either Dallas or St. Louis asked to move to whatever division they're in now, which I don't know if that's true or not, but it's still really weird how those two teams aren't in the right specific area that they actually are in. Because now you look at the Blues, they're going to have stupid travel to the West, and all the West teams have to go to St. Louis, and it's like, it doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. And from the time I saw that and saw the division lineups, my first thought was that they wanted to have a Stanley Cup rematch between Tampa and Dallas 8 times, because that was a pretty decent finals. It was I think in 6 games.
Yeah, 6 games. It was, I think it was 2-0 in game 6 for the Lightning to win that Stanley Cup final. But it's still weird though. Like, why make it harder for the Blues and the rest of the teams in the West to travel that much for a 2? I know all the games are in 2-game sets or 3-game sets, but that's still a little unnecessary far travel just to go to St. Louis. Oh, and especially for like the California teams. And
I know a lot of people that would have preferred to see Blues and Blackhawks play 8 times than Tampa and Dallas. Get some of the rivalries going.
Yeah, because you imagine Blues and Hawks, Blues in Nashville, Blues in Detroit, Blues in Columbus. I mean, the Blues would have been a great, they would have been a great team to have in the Central with, all the, they're bringing the Red Wings back for the Hawks. But just to have the Blues in Nashville, we should have almost all the Central teams together besides Columbus or besides Colorado and Minnesota.
Yeah.
But I mean, we'll do our predictions here in a little bit. But speaking of new faces and new places, there's also some teams have new captains, and there are some that kind of make sense. And, some you can't really be mad about. I mean, the Boston, talk about the Boston Bruins just announced that Patrice Bergeron is going to be their next captain, which it actually makes sense because he's been there for a long time. He's a fan favorite, and the dude, wins, Selkies and Lady Bings left and right. I mean, it makes sense to have him as the captain. And I think they have David Krejci and Brad Marchand as their alternates. I mean, hey, not a bad group. But you would maybe think Pasta would be an alternate, but I mean, Krejci and Marchand.
Did you happen to see the video when the Bruins put that out?
That was actually pretty nice. I actually enjoyed that. I mean, like I said, it's the Bruins. I could really care less. Either my father-in-law is a Bruins fan, and he likes to remind me about it. But I mean, hey, I remind him of the 13 Cup, so pretty much ends that conversation really fast. But
I thought it was pretty funny. A solid congrats to Brad Marchand for being named captain for about 15 seconds. That was pretty funny.
That was pretty funny. But no, I thought the video was awesome how they were able to go and show some old highlights and stuff like that of all the former captains. So
Yeah, that was pretty
I
sweet.
didn't know they actually had two captains in the same season, and everyone thought that Carolina doing it was weird, but I guess the Bruins did it first way back when. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, I like that pick for the Bruins to go with Bergeron as their
Oh,
captain.
for sure. And, speaking of other captains, we got the Minnesota Wild naming Jared Spurgeon as their new captain after Mika Koivu leaves. So that was, Mika Koivu's been there a long time, and
Yeah, oh,
throwing
geez, yeah.
Spurgeon up there and throwing that C on him, that's pretty interesting.
Hey,
He
nothing
deserves
wrong
it,
with
though.
that. Oh
No.
yes, yeah, because he's been there for a while too, and I mean, it would make sense to go with him. I mean, yeah, you do have Zach Parise and all those other guys have been there for a bit too. But I mean, hey, I'm not mad about it. I mean, you know what? Good for
Yeah.
good for Spurgey.
Well,
He
he
got it.
is looking at his contract right now. He is signed through the 26-27 season. So they got him
Ooh, there you go. There
for
you
another,
go.
6-7 years. That's crazy.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. And the talking about the Blues, they also got a new captain as well. Ryan O'Reilly is their new captain. So getting him from the Sabres, back in that 19 Cup run, and now he's the next captain at the Pertangelo. So I mean, as much as I have disdain for the Blues, for obvious reasons, but hey, you know what? Congrats to O'Reilly. He goes there, does his thing, help the Blues go over the hump, and now he's their new captain. So
Yeah.
I haven't heard who their alternates are, but still,
Pretty sure
not
one
too
is
bad.
Tarasenko, because
Oh,
I
okay.
heard that Tarasenko wasn't too happy that it was O'Reilly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ooh, we got some drama already before the season
Absolutely.
even starts.
Yeah. So apparently it was, O'Reilly's only been there, 2 seasons, and Tarasenko's been there a while. Now, from what I've seen, a lot of the fans on their Twitter and Facebook and stuff have said that Tarasenko just never looks like he wants to play, and he's hurt all the time, lately at least. So
I mean, yeah, it makes sense. I mean,
right now it makes sense. Tarasenko, in my opinion, should not be the captain. It should O'Reilly or maybe David Perron. I don't know. I don't know the Blues too well, but I know the guys that should have deserved it.
Yeah, I mean, because didn't O'Reilly win? Did he win the playoff MVP that year too when they won the cup?
Yep.
Okay, well there you go then. I mean, it only makes sense. He goes there, he gets the playoff MVP, and he gets them a cup and stuff like that. I mean, he basically changed the Blues from the get go when he got there in that trade from the Sabres. So I mean,
so their alternates are Braden Shin, Colton Parayko, and Tarasenko. So
wow, okay,
I still think that's
3 alternates.
a good choice for them.
Hey, good for them. Hey, talk about third alternate captains. How about the Ottawa Senators, man? No captains. 3 alternates, no captain for the Ottawa Senators. I mean, and and Brady Tkachuk being one of them. I mean, kind of makes sense. He's kind of the future of that team. Nothing wrong with that. I forgot who the other 2 were.
It's Thomas Chabot and Eric Goodbranson.
Oh, well, there you go. They've been there for a while too. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's really 3 guys that you can't go wrong with picking, because especially with Brady Tkachuk being the future of your team. I bet you next year or 2 seasons from now, I bet you Brady Tkachuk is going to be the captain of the Ottawa Senators. Just because.
I don't know. My opinion, it's going to be Chabot. Multiple reasons. One, Chabot is signed through the 26-27 season, and Brady Tkachuk is still on his entry-level contract.
I mean, hey, there are some kids who get the captaincy right away. I mean,
well, yeah. You look at Connor McDavid. He was there for 2 seasons, maybe 3, and he got captain. I mean,
Jonathan Toews too of the Blackhawks. I mean, we didn't have a captain for 1 year, and then the next year after we didn't have a captain, he was named it. So I mean, he from an early start, even Jonathan Toews, was captain as well. I mean, there's a bunch of kids who become captains really early. It's just. So, I mean, Chabot wouldn't be a bad choice if he was captain, but I wouldn't be surprised if they went with Brady Tkachuk too. So, it'll be interesting to see.
I think a lot of that's going to depend on, because Tkachuk is going to need a new contract after this season. So I think a lot of that's going to depend on what that contract looks like. Mm-hmm. Now, luckily, they're 10 million under the cap space, and they have 7 unrestricted free agents for next year. So if those guys don't resign or anything like that, he could get a pretty sizable contract. And
No, I would think
if
so.
they sign him to a 7 or 8 year deal, slap the
Yeah.
C on him, call it a day. Absolutely.
Yeah, right, exactly. So it's definitely gonna be interesting. And talking about we talked about Buffalo with O'Reilly. I forgot about this too. They also got Taylor Hall and Eric Stahl
Yeah.
on the Sabres as well. I forgot about those guys. I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, I mean, we're not talking like those Sabres are gonna probably make the playoffs, but I mean, to get veteran, leadership in Eric Stahl, who was a captain of the Hurricanes at one point, and you're getting Taylor Hall. Yes, it's a 1-year deal, but I mean, having those guys with Eichel and all that, and you got Yoki Haru from the Blackhawks trade, which I still don't get why we traded him away for Alex Nylander, but that's here and there. That's that's for another time. But I mean, adding those two guys isn't really that bad considering all the other guys they got around them too. And that rookie that they had too, who really popped off. I forget his name off the top of my head. I think it's Olofsson or something like that.
Victor Olofsson.
Yeah, which was funny because I actually got him in my fantasy hockey team last year, and he got me a lot of points. So, thank you to that. But what do you think though about the Sabres getting Stahl and Hall?
I'll say Taylor Hall's signing was probably the biggest curveball of the offseason to me, because everyone was expecting. I know the Blue Jackets apparently were going after him hard. The Bruins were, I think, the Hurricanes were. And all of a sudden he's, hey, I'm going to Buffalo, which, I mean, good for him. He got a contract. He's continuing to work, but that threw me off. And a lot of other people, it was really confusing as to why he decided of all places to go to Buffalo.
Yeah, for a 1-year deal too. And I know the Coyotes wanted to try to keep him as well, but I mean, it's really interesting to see how that's going to work out with those guys out there. I mean, they still have a lot of question marks on that team, especially at goalie and defense, but I mean, hey, it is what it is. So moving on to the next topic, which I've seen on Twitter, a lot of people are kind of not happy with the fact that this happened, but I mean, the NHL needs to make money in some way. And, we got division names now, and, I'm curious to see what your thoughts on it. So we have the Scotiabank North Division for the Canadian teams. We have the Honda West Division, the Discover Central Division, and the Mass Mutual East Division. And a lot of people are up in arms about this. I really don't see what the big deal is. It's just no one's really going to say it besides the people who have to cover the teams, either in journalism or on broadcast in the league. So, I mean, I really don't see what the big deal is. Everyone else is going to go by to just say the East, North, and Central in the West. I mean, I really don't care, but I mean, I'm assuming you probably don't either. You don't care about the names. It's not that big of a deal.
No, because, the way I see it, the only people that I see that are complaining about this and making such a big deal are people that, and I'm not saying every single person, but they don't understand how basic economics works. Like the NHL lost a ton of money last year. A lot of money from fans not being able to show up, and then all of the concessions not being able to go in, and then their sponsors are not going to be paying for games where people aren't there, and all of the 50-50s that they have at all these games and the raffles, and they got no money. So yeah, it's for a season. Now, if they keep moving forward with this, it's going to feel like an NFL All-Star game, which I prefer not, but it's fine. I don't care. It makes sense for the season.
Because
the sponsors make sense. Like Scotiabank is a huge bank in Canada. Fine. But yeah, you and I talking, I'm not going to call it, oh, well, did you see the Scotiabank North Division? No, who cares? It's either going to be the North Division or the Canadian Division. It is what it is.
Yeah, I don't really see what the big deal is. I mean, the NHL's even said they're only doing this for a year. It's like the divisions are gonna be like this for a year. The playoff format's gonna be like the NHL is basically saying, hey, this is just gonna be for a season. Now the helmet decal, the helmet sponsors, that might be past this year, which other people are mad about that too. And I also am like, okay, whatever. We're not going to be like the European leagues where they got logos all over the jerseys and stuff like that. We're not going to get there.
No,
we're not going to be like the NBA with every team having a logo. It's on the side of the helmet, and you still have the numbers on the front and the back of the helmet.
Yeah, and I mean, the way I
who cares?
The helmet sponsors. You're watching the game. Guess what? I'm not watching what the side of their helmets look like. I'm watching the puck. I'm watching the play. I'm watching the defense. I'm watching to see if my team is going to score. I could not care less about what's on their helmet. Now,
Yeah, I mean,
I'm speaking from, I know the Blue Jackets helmet sponsor. We have Ohio Health and Nationwide. Those, the colors blend in well with our home and away helmets. Now, there's
for
other
sure.
ones.
Those ones are clean. I have to say the Jackets ones are super clean because I'm originally from Northeast Ohio and big Columbus Crew fan and all that too. So it makes sense why they would have Nationwide and Ohio Health because they're in Columbus and they're also sponsoring the Columbus Crew as well.
Yeah.
And like you said, those things are so clean, like they fit perfectly. Unfortunately, the Blackhawks haven't announced theirs yet, but I'm guessing it's probably going to be, United and Fifth Third Bank, just because we have Fifth Third Arena, which is the practice arena, and United Center. So
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's probably what it's going to be. It's just we're waiting for an announcement at this point. But
yeah, and
but
there's even a possibility you guys might not have one because it's the Blackhawks. Like, you guys are one of the biggest markets. You make the money, but there are
on jersey sales alone.
oh yeah, like there's other teams like the Penguins. So their sponsor, if you haven't seen it, is PPG Paint. The side, we all know the Penguins colors are white, yellow, and black, and it's the three most disgusting colors in the world to me. But they have PPG paints, and on the side of their helmets is a giant blue sticker that says PPG. It goes up, it covers, I'd say, maybe 35% of the side of the helmet. It looks horrendous. And there's stuff like that is so out of left field, and it looks terrible. But I guess for a season,
you would think though they would find a way to blend it in better. You can make those letters. You can just do PPG in the white letters and nothing behind it, or in black. I understand they want to try to keep it to the sponsor colors, but you would think like, hey guys, we have yellow helmets. The blue sticker is going to look weird. Can we maybe just have the letters and maybe have something that works with the helmet? Yeah, those things are pretty bad. They're pretty terrible.
Yeah. Speaking of the Penguins, I don't know if you saw it. They had to cancel their practice and scrimmage today out of an abundance of caution with the COVID protocols. Just like what the Stars had to do a couple days ago.
Yeah.
They initially had to cancel their practice, and I think they had a scrimmage that day, but I'm not sure. And now their season's getting postponed. But the Penguins, they had to cancel their stuff today, and I have a feeling that's going to be a common occurrence this year.
Yeah. We probably see a lot of, cancel it. And that's why you have the schedule the way it is, where you have a bunch of 2-game sets. You got that day in the middle in case something does happen. You probably push one game back and have a back-to-back nights and stuff like that. And dates here and there. I think that's why the NHL did that, because okay, in case of COVID and why we're doing 2-game sets and we're going to have dates in between. It's just for stuff like this, because I think the Stars can't play until January 19th, or they can't play until January 19th.
Yep, 19th
or something like
earliest.
Cool. Because I know the NHL is looking at what they're going to do with that, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that schedule.
Yeah, because I believe they played the Panthers to start their season off, and the Panthers have already announced that those games are going to be rescheduled. So
Makes sense.
They could have a couple back-to-backs. That they could be screwing their schedule up for the rest of the year, but it's the way it works this year, I guess.
Hey, NHL's doing a lot better than what baseball did, where I think they had the St. Louis Cardinals play 5 kajillion double headers every day to catch up, because they missed 2 weeks of the season. That
had to be terrible. I'm sure those guys were exhausted.
Yeah, for sure. And we do have our gripes about Gary Bettman and stuff like that, but at least the NHL does, know how to do things a lot better than baseball.
Yeah, we all have our issues with him, but I will say that our bubble situation that we had has got to be the best that was ever done in a random, obviously we're not dealing with worldwide pandemics every day, but
yeah,
it was done so well. They didn't have a single positive test in the 2.5, almost 3 months that they were in the bubble, out of however many tens of thousands of tests that they ran. Yeah. And these guys were allowed to go out. They went to the hotel. They had practice rinks. They had stadiums set up that were close by that could go and throw the Frisbee around or play football or something.
Yeah, I think that was Toronto FC over
Mhm.
there. I mean, and I do have to shout out other leagues who did do well. The National Women's Soccer League, the NWSL, did a really good job. The WNBA did a really good job too. NBA, yeah.
They did okay.
I mean, as Ryan Whitney would say, it's a sick league.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to Chicklets, but yeah, I think the NWSL did a really good job. WNBA did too. I mean, the NWSL had like 2 separate cups and stuff like that. I mean, so yeah, the NHL did a really good job too. But we also got to give a little bit of a shout out to the women's professional sports teams that did a good job too. I mean,
For sure.
but yeah, Gary Bettman. Granted, we have had a couple lockout seasons, which hasn't, it's not great, but for the most part, you really can't say Gary Bettman's the worst commissioner in all of sports. I mean, we do have, like you said, we do have our gripes, but he does do a good job compared to all the other majors, the NFL, NBA, and the MLB. Now, the NFL is a no fun league because, they just do whatever they want.
Yeah.
All that. But luckily, this is a hockey podcast. We're all going to talk about hockey. So I don't know if you saw this. Did you see the John Walker, Arizona State, Michigan goal that he performed?
I did, and going back to good old Whitney, that was sick.
Oh, that was
pulling a Michigan in the first place is impressive. But those of you listening, if you haven't seen this video, you need to go look this up because it's a shot off of the left wing that bounces off of the boards behind the net. The puck is still bouncing, and he grabs this puck while it's in midair or just off of the ice and still somehow nails it perfectly and throws that top shelf. It was insane.
We might have to put this as a poll on our Twitter page, but which Michigan is better? Johnny Walker's Michigan or Andrei Svechnikov's Michigan? Did you see that one with the Hurricanes where he did that one? I think it was, I forget
which
who
one?
it was.
He's done multiple.
The first one that he did, which that sent everyone to a frenzy. I forget who it was, but
the ones I remember, he's done 2, and then I believe one of the guys from the Predators did it. I don't remember who it was.
Well, no one cares about the Predators. So.
No.
But no. We might have to make that a poll question. Which one's better, Johnny Walker's or Andrei Svechnikov's first Michigan that he pulled off? That one that he digged off the goalie's helmet.
That's tough because Johnny Walker's was pretty good. The puck
Johnny
is bouncing.
Walker scored again today too.
Oh yeah, they had that game against Notre Dame.
Sniped City on that one that he did today.
It was a good one. He didn't have a lot of defense. My opinion, I'd have to give it to Svechnikov. For one, he's got the balls to do it in an NHL game.
Yeah.
And 2, he had one of the guys on defense coming up onto him. So he had to rush a little bit. And he did it so smooth. Now, I would say it's like a 51-49 because they're both very good for their
for sure
reasons. But
yeah. If Twitter did like the 50 point something, like if it was like one of those things where it's like it came down to like a 0.2% difference, I think this would be really close. But yeah, you have to give it to Andrei Svechnikov just because of just how disgusting that was in the middle of a game with defense on him, and the fact that he actually, because the box was really small that he had to put it in. I mean, he had no real estate to put that puck in where he did. So that was so nice.
Before we move on to our second period, we're going to get one good old congratulations to the World Junior Champs, the United States of America, beating Canada after Canada had been destroying everybody. And I thought Canada would win, but of course I was wrong. But USA pulls it off, and that was a amazing game to watch.
Yeah, 2-0 to the United States. Great game overall. I mean, Zegras, though, that he got a great goal to get the second one, and we have to talk about the fact that the goaltending for USA, Spencer Knight, man, that kid he's gonna have a career in the NHL, because if he can go and do that where he shuts down the Canadians, who just put up a five spot on the Russians in the semifinal game with a shutout.
Oh yeah,
he goes in and gets a 2-0 shutout and basically just stonewalls them in the entire game. I mean, yeah, Spencer Knight's going to be something else.
I'll tell you what, out of that whole juniors, the one person I think is going to have a very bright future is Quentin Byfield, who's going to be playing for the Kings.
For sure.
He had a slow start. He didn't get a lot going, but once he had that 5-point game, he looked good the rest of the time. And I think he's got a pretty good future ahead of him in LA.
And think about this too. The Kings also have Alex Turcotte. So they have Turcotte and Byfield. Like, yeah. The Kings, they are bad right now, but get those two kids going and get some more extra pieces around them. The Kings could be a force whenever we get back to normal divisions and we're back to the Pacific. The Kings are going to be a force in the Pacific Division whenever we get back to normal with those divisions for sure. But like you said, before we actually go into our second period, we need to do our season predictions of the North Division, the East, and the West divisions. So I'll start with you first, Alex. Right. So do you want to start with the Canadian teams and get them out of the way, or do you want to save them for last and just make all the Canadians fans upset with our takes?
We'll just get them out of the way because nobody cares about them anyways.
All right. So do your teams that are not going to get in, and then give me your top 4 and your reasons why you think those 4 are going to get in.
So with that, we know it's that team, the League of 7. So it's going to be a little weird, but in last place, I have Ottawa. I know they've gotten some pieces. I know they got Matt Murray, but I mean, they're not going to do anything else this year, in my opinion. I still think they're going to be finishing the last. In 6th place, I have Calgary. I know people are going to be pissed, but you know what? It's the Canadian League. No one is really worried about it. And in 5th place, this one was pretty tough for me, is I have Winnipeg. I know they have Laine. I know they have Connor Hellebuck, but I just don't see the pieces clicking right now. Maybe this Laine trade could happen by the end of the year. My opinion, he's going to get traded after the season's over because of immigration issues and traveling across the border.
Yeah.
But I just don't see him making it. So my 4 teams I have in, obviously you guys can all figure it out by now, but I've got Vancouver in 4th place. They just got Braden Holtby. I think he's going to be fairly decent for him this year. Between him and I think Thatcher Demko, but still, I don't see him being a powerhouse at all. 3rd place, I got the Oilers.
Oh, okay.
I didn't see a lot of movement from them this off season. I'm not paying attention to them a lot, but I didn't see too much. I
know Kyle Turris is now an Oiler.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But take that as you will.
I mean, obviously you have Connor McDavid, you have Leon Draisaitl. Those two are going to be a force. They always will, no matter what. The goalie situation in Edmonton is the main reason why I have them in 3rd place.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have the scoring, but their goalies between Koskinen and Mike Smith are mediocre at best, in my opinion.
No, I mean, I think Koskinen might have a huge year just because of the fact that it's going to be, it's shortened year, but I think giving him more of a chance, and it's all Canadian teams. I think it's gonna be a good test for him to step up his game this year. So I get what you're saying with Koskinen, but I think Koskinen is going to have a huge year in my opinion. But
yeah.
Okay, so you have Edmonton 3rd. Who's your 2 and your number 1?
So
North?
As much as it pains me, I have Toronto finishing 1st and Montreal finishing in 2nd place.
Why would Montreal, you do that?
You know what? Even though we decided to knock them out of the qualifiers in their own building, which was amazing, by the way.
Oh, fantastic.
It's hard to stop their powerhouses. It's hard to stop Tavares and Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews. It's difficult.
Well, unless you're the Boston Bruins, then it's not really that hard to do.
Well, I think a lot of that's a mental game with Toronto, but luckily they don't have to deal with it this year.
True.
In Montreal, one of the most active teams this offseason with getting guys. It all started with that Max Domi and Josh Anderson trade. They
Montreal, man,
instantly signed Josh Anderson to that 7-year deal. Then they got Tyler Toffoli, and then they got they just signed Corey Perry, and then they still have Nick Suzuki and Kotkaniemi. Like they're going to be good.
Oh, and They still have Carey Price and net too. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
and they also did sign. I forgot they got Jake Allen as their backup.
Hey, that's not bad. And they still have. Is Jeff Petrie still Canadian?
He is.
Yeah, there you go, man.
So yeah, I don't think they're good enough to take the North, but I see them not being a wild card team.
No, second's not bad. I mean, that's wild card as you can take it with the 4 teams they're getting in, but no, I mean, having them 2 is not bad. I mean, I can see where you're coming from. So my top 3, my North division's a little bit different compared to yours. I do have a different winner, but I do have Montreal in second, spoiler alert. But here are the 3 teams I don't have making it in. I actually have Winnipeg finishing last. Outside of Hellebuck and Laine, you might get a guy who's going to score a bunch of goals. He might get 10 goals in 12 games. Then you have a guy who's going to disappear for 2 months.
Yeah.
With a 56 game season, if he disappears for even more than like 2 weeks, they're done.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, outside of Scheifele and Little, I don't see. Winnipeg's defense is really suspect at best. I don't see them doing really well. I actually have them. Yeah, I think they're gonna have a bad year because while Connor Hellebuyck did have a great year last year, I just don't see him having a season like that again. No. Especially with the fact they got no one to help them on defense, and their offense is still not that great outside of Laine and Scheifele.
Yeah, and like you said, Laine, he can't disappear. I know they have Kyle Connor also, but he can't carry the team.
No,
and him and Scheifele can't do it.
Not that guy. Yeah, Connor, he's not that guy that can carry a team. He's good, but I don't think he's at that point yet where he can be like a Patrick Kane or, Nathan McKinnon, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Sidney Crosby, where you can just put the team on your back and carry them.
No.
Connor and Scheifele are not those guys. And, I don't think even Laine is at this point, honestly. And the way he just disappeared, it's just, I don't see it happening. So I think Winnipeg's going to have a really bad year, honestly. I have them finishing last. So I do have Ottawa finishing 6th. I think, with the additions that they had, I think they're going to have a little bit of a better year. I think they're going to step up. They're getting, everyone's getting a year older. And I think that Ottawa is going to surprise some people. I think they're going to, they're not going to make the playoffs, but I think Ottawa is going to have a better season than Winnipeg in the North overall. Yeah. I actually have Vancouver finishing in 5th place.
Okay.
Like you said, they did get Holtby. They do it. They still have, Quentin Hughes, Boa Horvat, and all those guys as well. It's going to be close. I think I'm not saying Vancouver's going to miss out by a lot. I think Vancouver's going to probably miss out by like a point.
Mm-hmm.
One of those things where it's going to come down to like the last week or the last game, and they're just going to be the guys outside looking in by like a point or something like that. Because for me, my 4-5 is so close that you can almost flip a coin to pick who's going to finish 4th and who's going to finish 5th.
Yeah, I think with Vancouver, a lot of that's going to depend on how good Elias Pettersson is and how quickly he gets back to his normal ways. Because if he takes a month, I'm sorry, you're not going to do anything.
Yeah, and Bo Horvat's really good, and Quentin Hughes is good and stuff like that too. They did lose Markstrom, but they do have, like you said, they do have a good goalie tandem there as well. But like I said, I don't think Vancouver's going to miss out by a lot. I think it's going to be down to like a point or something like that, or let's say no more than 5 points. It's going to be 5 points or less that they're going to miss the playoffs by, in my opinion. I have Calgary in 4th.
Okay.
They still have a bunch of guys there. Yeah, the goalie situation is going to be more interesting now. But they do get Markstrom in goal, which I think is a little bit of an upgrade for Calgary in general. And then, like I said, they still have pretty much everyone there. So I think Calgary has a good shot of getting it as the 4 spot. My number 3 is going to shock you a little bit. I actually have Toronto finishing in 3rd place.
Wow. Okay.
I
don't know what's worse, that or now you have the Oilers finishing in 1st.
See, you're paying attention. Process of elimination. Just from watching Toronto in general, and of course, listening to Steve Dangle podcast and watching Steve's YouTube videos. I'm not gonna lie. The only reason why I kind of know a little bit more about the Leafs is because of his podcast and his YouTube videos and stuff. And his book is really good too. If you haven't read it yet, I would suggest reading it. But all the stuff that he brings up too, they got Tavares, they got now they just got Joe Thornton and all of that. The Leafs for me still haven't shown me anything that can say, "Oh, we're going to go and win the North, and we're going to do it in a dominating fashion,
No.
or do it in a way that's going to show like, hey, we're for real." Because even last year, before the pause, they were struggling. The year before that, they also struggled. You didn't know if they were even going to get in the
No.
playoffs at one point. So I think Toronto is still going to be Toronto for a little while longer, just because of what we've seen in Toronto. I mean,
Yeah.
look at the playoffs. They never get past the Bruins. They got knocked out by the Jackets. I mean,
And I totally forgot. They keep preaching that they're trying to make the cup. They're trying to win the cup. And your offseason, you signed Wayne Simmons and Joe Thornton. I'm sorry that I know you're in a cap crunch, but that's also what you get for signing 3 guys to be 35 or 40% of your salary cap.
yeah, you think the Blackhawks are in trouble with their cap? Detroit's a lot. I mean, Detroit? Toronto is in a lot worse situation because you're getting guys, because if you only get guys like Thornton and Simmons to help your team, that's not really going to do very much for you. And I mean, I don't know. It's plus you still have Anderson in goal, but you got that backup that you traded for from the Kings. I mean,
I'm not saying
I
it's bad. They're especially Joe Thornton. He's 41
no.
years old. I'm not saying
I'm
he's
not
bad,
saying they're bad.
but
No, I'm not either.
in my opinion, he is going to bring that veteran leadership that they need. Granted, they have Tavares, but he's
bringing physicality. That's because Toronto had guys get blown up last year and they wouldn't fight anybody. So they're bringing Thornton in to bring the grit, to bring the if I'm going to start knocking some teeth out because you went after my guys because no one else did last year.
Oh yeah,
so that's why they brought Thornton and Simmons, and they brought physicality and guys who are going to step up and scrap. That's all it really is, and I just don't think those 2 guys are going to help Toronto get over the hump, and that's why I have them third in my opinion. I mean, yeah, it could be a bad take, but I just I have to see more out of Toronto to make me think that they're going to be winning the division. Like I said, Montreal second. They've been sneaky quiet this year. I think they're going to be a team that might. I mean, you saw what they did last year. They knocked out the Penguins in the playoff round, and they just got better. And I think Montreal has that team. They'd be like, hey, we're not going to be dark horses. We're going to do something about it and get in the playoffs. And I have them second.
Yeah.
And obviously, like you said, I have Edmonton finishing first, and it's because having McDavid and Draisaitl, all those guys. Yeah, the goaltending might be an interesting situation, but I think Edmonton is their offense is so good. And for the fact that their defense is still pretty solid with Darnell Nurse and everyone else.
Absolutely.
I still think I have a good feeling that Edmonton is going to be that team that's just going to – I don't think they're going to run away and win it by like 15 points or something like that, but I think Edmonton has that team that's going to be taking the North for sure, in my opinion. So
yeah, they'll be pretty good for sure.
Oh, for sure. So I'll start off with the West.
Right.
So we are now we're going to the normal 8 teams because the Canada has to be weird and only have 7 teams up there, but here or there. So this is not going to come as a shock to anyone. I have the 3 California teams finishing in the 8th, 7th, and 6th spots. I mean, no one's really shocked by this. I have Los Angeles finishing last, San Jose, and then Anaheim.
We have some stuff to talk about.
San Jose is going to get. I mean, they're going to get healthier and stuff like that. But if their goaltending situation is just going to be like it was last year, and they did get Devin Dubnyk, but I still don't see how much that's going to help. So in Anaheim, I don't think Anaheim really got any better either. I mean, the Kings did get, they have Byfield now. They are going to have Turcotte and all these other young guys, and they still got, Anze Kopitar and Jonathan Quick, but I just think the California teams are going to keep struggling because you saw last year they just didn't have a great year, and it's just been off for those guys. So I just don't think none of them are going to make it in. And I got Arizona in the 5 spot. Yeah, Arizona had a great year, but I mean, outside of Darcy Kemper, and I mean, they're going to ride Clayton Keller all season, and I feel bad for that kid because they're going to lean on him so hard to carry that team.
Between
I just don't
him
know.
And Phil Kessel, and that's still laughable sometimes. He's a good player, but like the guy is not. He's got a salary cap of $6.8 million. I'm sorry that you're not worth that, in my opinion. But that they felt he was valued at that. So fine. But Clayton Keller is going to get, what was it last season? He signed through 26-27. So I think he signed an 8-year deal before last season.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for the kid. I really do. At 22, and you're basically carrying everybody.
Yeah. I just don't think Arizona has that team yet that's going to do anything. I think they're going to be better than the California teams, but that's really about it. So I have Minnesota finishing 4th. They are a blah team to watch. They are boring, but it's Minnesota. They're gonna start the season slow, but they're gonna find a way to get good and finish in the playoffs somehow. So the West for me, the West was kind of easy just for the fact you get the California teams and you're looking at Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota makes sense to finish 4th. Now the 2 and 3, I think it could be like I said, how it was for the North, it's a toss up between who finishes 2nd and 3rd. I have Vegas 3rd, St. Louis 2nd, and then I got Colorado winning the division. Colorado's a wagon. You're gonna get all your goalies back. You have Cal McCarr. You're gonna have Landeskog healthy. You're gonna have McKinnon, Rantanen. Nazem Kadri.
They're a force. They are a force.
Colorado
now
wagon.
They just got Brandon Saad, didn't they? So add him into the mix too.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me about that. I'm still trying. I'm still trying to forget about that. But hey, we did get Storov, but that's later. But yeah, Colorado's just they're so stacked. They're gonna obliterate the West, in my opinion. They're just gonna run over everyone. I think Vegas has the best shot of doing something to them. That's why I said Vegas and St. Louis, you can flip flop at 2 and 3. I think Vegas is gonna be the true test of Colorado, in my opinion, for the West.
For sure. And especially with Vegas, you've got Marc-Andre Fleury, but you got Robin Lehner, who was going off of his head from last season in the playoffs. I know. If you need to get some tissues or something, that's fine. But
I don't need tissues. I probably need some more Pink Whitney, to drown my sorrows. No free ads, but hey, if you guys want to,
it's fine.
We're not going to be upset.
Our phone is available.
Definitely. So
no surprise here. I have Colorado winning as well. We'll just get that out of the way. Same reasons. Okay, we're done.
Wagon.
Place. Who did you have in last place? Did you have San Jose?
Los Angeles.
Okay. I have the Sharks in last place.
Okay.
I don't think they're going to do anything. You lose Joe Thornton, which isn't a huge loss, but still, I don't see him do anything. 7th place, I have the Coyotes.
Okay, that's interesting.
Reasoning as we talked about before. I think they're going to ride Clayton Keller. I don't know why, but I have a feeling he's going to get hurt this year. It's a gut feeling. No specific reasoning as to why or anything like that. But I think maybe not him, but one of their big guys is going to get hurt. And I think that's going to derail their season. Who knows? Yeah. I may be wrong. I may be just speaking like an idiot, but there's something about the Coyotes I feel is going to happen this year. Mm-hmm. 6th place, I got the Wild.
Ooh, okay.
So
okay,
after losing Koivu as your captain, you're not losing a lot of offensive firepower, but I still don't see them being that team that needs to do anything, because I don't know if and I may be wrong, but I feel like I saw something where Zuccarello had surgery and he's going to be out for a decent period of time this season.
Oh, is he? Oh, I didn't even hear about that.
I believe. I'm not sure.
Well, who are their goalies? That's my question, because I know they had Dubnyk. Who does Minnesota even have a goalie? I didn't even think about that.
So here's a story on NHL.com. Came out December 7th. So I was right. He's out for the start of their training camp after having an arm surgery.
Ooh. Okay.
So it just says he's not ready to start camp. There's no time frame for his return.
Right.
As for the rest of the Wild, you have Kevin Fiala, who I think could do well. You got Nick Bonino, Zach Parise, Marcus Foligno, who Nick Foligno can beat, and Jared Spurgeon. But in
who are their goalies?
So they got Cam Talbot and Alex Stalock. So
Stalock
is okay. Cam, I don't see him doing anything productive this year.
Yeah, that's what I said. For me, that's why the only reason I picked Minnesota is because I just think the West. I think just because of the California teams, just how bad they've been the last couple of years, and Arizona. I think Arizona, Minnesota is just like the thing I did for the North, where it's like you could flip flop, coin toss one of those teams to get in, and I think it's going to be close. I think Arizona and Minnesota is going to be another one where it's going to come down within 5 or 6 points.
Yeah,
at the most between those two teams. That's what I said. I could have put Arizona 4 just because they have a good team and stuff like that. It's just outside of Keller, I had no idea, and that's why I put Minnesota 4th. And now you're saying like who their goalies are. I don't know how I feel about Minnesota being number 4, but I'm still going to roll with Minnesota as the 4 just because of the California teams and just because of Arizona. Like I said, if Arizona gets done over Minnesota, then okay, then I was wrong about that. But
yeah, and
so who do you have then?
So my 5th place is the Ducks.
Okay.
So I have the Kings finishing in 4th.
Which is surprising.
With Quentin Byfield as the future captain of the Kings.
Right.
Then I have the Blues in 3rd, Vegas in 2nd. And then as to everyone's surprise, Colorado in 1st.
Right.
I think the Vegas and the Blues are going to be one of those couple points away. I think those two are going to battle all year. Colorado is just going to run away.
Yes, that's why I said why I said for minutes for St. Louis and Vegas, it's a toss up.
Yeah.
So my question: so do you think Byfield and Turcotte and Kopitar and Dustin Brown and all you think and Drew Doughty? Do you think the Kings have what it takes to make the playoffs after the last couple of years they've had?
Make the playoffs? Yes. Yeah. Do anything productive? No.
Okay.
I could see them being knocked out of the first round because knowing their luck, they're going to play Colorado, and Colorado is going to destroy them.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, because I think it's that 1-4-2-3 thing. So yeah,
but
they'll be facing Colorado.
I think that you have Byfield, you have Turcotte. They signed Andreas Athanasiou as well to a 1-year deal. So
and they also got Oli Mata from the Blackhawks. So they got some defense.
I think they could make it. It would be in 4th spot unless they pull a miracle and somehow are like in 2nd place or something. I don't see that happening. I just see them in 4th place. Yeah. The Blues in Vegas, we have them flip-flopped, but honestly, my opinion, Vegas, that's going to depend on how 2 people play specifically. It's going to be Robin Lehner and Pietrangelo. And with the Blues, it's going to rely on the same thing. It's going to go on Bennington and then Torrey Krug. It all depends because how those defensemen fit in with their new teams. And then, Bennington was, this is the best goalie in the history of the world. And last year he was just a goalie.
Yeah.
He was human. So is he going to go back? Is he going to continue being average? Above average. I mean, he's good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's not good, but what everybody made him out to be, he wasn't that last year. And with Vegas, if Robin Lehner decides to stand on his head again, Fleury could get traded.
Yeah, I can see that.
Cap.
I can see that. Yeah. I don't know how Vegas is getting away with the salary cap situation where the fact that they just magically are just working the cap in their favor.
I don't know.
No idea. They can just get Pietrangelo with whatever phantom cap they have. I mean,
I don't know, man.
Just like Toronto gonna have like 1 million guys making 9 million plus, and somehow they're under the cap still just because they can find a way to finesse it. So,
for sure. Moving to the East, I'll go with mine first.
Okay.
The bottom 4. Some of these are probably going to surprise some people, but that's what this is all about. So in last place, I have the Devils.
No shock.
No. 7th place, this may irritate some people, but I don't care, is the Rangers. So
not upset with that one.
Losing Lundqvist, and then I know you have Lafreniere, big whoop. And the reason I say that is because, yes, he was the number 1 overall pick. Whoop-de-doo. Jack Hughes was in the exact same situation, and he was average at best his rookie year. And you're on the Rangers, another big market team in New York. I'm not saying he won't be good. There's a chance he could come out and dominate that team with, especially if his skill level improves. They throw him on a line with, Panarin and Zibanejad. He could be good, but it's the Rangers. I don't see him doing well.
Yeah, for whatever reason, and think about this too. The Rangers, for an original 6 team, only have 4 Stanley Cups. Just want to throw that out there. They only have 4 Stanley Cups as an original 6 team, and it's just, for whatever reason, the Rangers, I don't know. I still think it's kind of suspect that they got the number 1 pick. I mean,
did you see the video of the ball in that machine?
Oh yeah.
Toronto's ball got so screwed, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
Could you imagine if the Leafs got Lafreniere with Matt? It would have been pure chaos.
Oh, they would have kept the other top 3, and then they would have still had Nylander, and then they would have found a way to sign Lafreniere to a 8-year deal worth $11.5 million.
NHL fans would have lost their minds if the Leafs got Lafreniere after getting Matthews, and they got Marner, and they got Nylander and all these other guys. But
for sure,
yeah, I mean, I'm not mad at that Rangers tag because I have them. I'll tell you where I have them, but continue on with the rest of your bottom 4.
So in 6th place, I have Buffalo. They got Taylor Hall, but it's still Buffalo. I mean, I don't see him making the playoffs this year. If they're going to make the playoffs, it's going to be this year, but I don't think they will.
I mean, they do have what, Linus Ullmarker's their goalie. But okay. Like,
it's no Corpusalo, but yeah.
5th
place, I got the Penguins. So first off, I would be happy to see them not make the playoffs because it's the Penguins, but realistically, their core is getting old, man. It is getting old. Sidney Crosby and Malkin. Crosby's 33, Malkin's 34. Mm-hmm. Crosby's still really, really good, and so is Malkin. But Jake Gensel is their future, and they need to kind of start rallying behind that a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry. I don't see him doing much, especially now they have Tristan Jarry and then Casey DeSmith as their goalies. Tristan Jarry's really good. I think he has a very bright future, but I just don't see him doing much more. Yeah. 4th place, I have the Capitals.
Okay.
So after losing Braden Holtby and then whatever goalie situation they have going on right now, I don't know. But I think having Chara is going to help. And then I also think there's one of their first round picks that they got. I don't remember who it was. They ended up signing, but anyways, I have them in 4th, and then I have the Bruins in 3rd, which you lose Chara, you lose
Krug.
There's all the nonsense going on with Rask. I still think he's going to have a good year, but I see him in 3rd.
I do have to say though, Rask gets way too much crap from Bruins fans because
he does.
Well, yeah, Tim Thomas won you a Stanley Cup, but I mean, Rask has been a solid goalie. I mean, it's just like Corey Crawford in Chicago. Corey got, he got some love, but there were some fans out there who still give him a lot of crap for whatever reason, and that's just how it is in Boston with Rask. And I feel bad for him because he's a solid goalie. It's just, unfortunately, they caught the Blues at the wrong time. And
I think that's Boston in general.
Well, yeah, true. It is Boston. I mean,
2nd place, I got the Islanders, and then the Flyers finishing in 1st. Obviously, with the Islanders, you just got the Matt Barzal situation figured out. You still got Anders Lee. You got Varlamov and Sorokin as your. I think they'll do well again this year.
And you still bury Trotz in
Yeah.
his system. So I mean,
you can't go past that. And then the Flyers in first, you know, right before the break last season, man, they were on fire. I still remember watching the Flyers and Jackets games, and the Jackets they looked like a high school team every single time.
Yeah, they got worked in those games. I mean, the Flyers still won the round robin too, so it's not like they just completely fell apart. They still did really well in the round robin too. I mean, they got the 1 seed after being the 4 seed when the season was paused.
Yeah.
So I mean, and you still got Kata Hot in goal, and you still got everyone else there too. I mean, yeah, the Flyers are. I can agree with the Flyers. They're gonna run the East, and so I'm gonna spoiler alert. I also have the Flyers winning the East, so get that out of the way. The Flyers are I think they're gonna be a team that's just gonna do what they need to do, and the Flyers figured out goaltending in Carter Hart, and he's just gonna do his thing again this year. So my bottom 4, I have New Jersey. Tell me if you're shocked. I don't think anyone is.
Super shocked.
Buffalo Sabres are finishing 7th. Same things like you said. Just they got Stahl, they got Hall, they got Eichel, they got Jokiharju, they got all these other guys. But the goaltending situation is still kind of a question mark, and the rest of their defense, I think they're okay, but I don't see them doing anything.
Okay. I
got the Rangers finishing 6th. Same thing like you said, outside of Panarin and Sabinajad, and Jack Hughes was okay. I don't know what their goalies are going to do. Who knows about their defense? I mean, Lafreniere might do something. We don't really know, but yeah, I don't see the Rangers doing a whole lot. Maybe next year they'll make the playoffs, but I don't see doing anything this year.
Yeah.
I got Pittsburgh in 5th.
Okay.
They're old. They're old.
I like it.
Goaltending situation is going to be interesting. Defense, who really knows? I mean, the Penguins did lose a bunch of guys too. I don't think Hornquist is even there anymore.
Nope, he went to Florida, because I still remember the Twitter picture of him getting all of his Penguin stuff and throwing it in his driveway because he did not want to get traded.
Yeah. They lost a couple other guys. Oh, I think I forget who else they had. Oh, Dominic Cahoon's not there anymore either. So I mean, I don't know how much the Penguins are going to do with the fact that they have Jake Gensel, and they still have Malkin and Crosby, but I don't think they're gonna do a whole lot to get into the playoffs. So
no, I
have them finishing 5th. I do have the Islanders finishing 4th, actually.
Okay.
Yes, they did get Matt Barzal. I was thinking about moving him up to number 3, but goalies we're gonna have to see. Defense we're gonna have to see. I mean, they still have Matt Martin. Like I said, they got Barzal, Anders Lee, and stuff like that, and Sizic. But I just, I think the Islanders are going to be 4th. There's, like I said, goalies are question mark, and defense too. One of those things where it's like, who really knows? We'll have to see how the season goes. I got Washington 3rd.
Okay.
Outside of losing Lundqvist, they were going to have him. But getting Sedano, they still got Backstrom. They still got Oshie. Still got OV. I mean, yeah, I think the Capitals are going to be fine. They're going to finish 3rd. I got Boston 2nd. Okay. Granted, yes, they did lose Krug. They did lose Char, but we're still talking about the Bruins here.
Yeah.
They're still going to do the Boston Bruins thing. They're going to just, beat the crap out of you, and they're going to have the perfect line, the perfection line with Bergeron and Marchand and Pasta. Boston's going to be fine. That's why I think they're going to finish 2nd. And like I said, I have Philadelphia finishing 1st because Philadelphia is going to be a force. Like I said, Carter Hart, all those other guys that got, Flyers are just they're not going to blow the rest of the division apart like we think Colorado's going to do, but the Flyers, I think they're going to have a pretty solid stranglehold for the most part on the East, but they're still going to have, a tough test with Boston and Washington and the Islanders too, but
yeah. Oh, for sure.
All right. So now we are moving on to our second segment, which is we're going to consider called period 2 for our podcast. So earlier, Alex did say the Stars season is going to get postponed due to COVID tests. So they're not going to have their regular season start until January 19th, and all the games are going to get rescheduled and all that. Now, we are going to talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning real quick, in that Nikita Kucherov is going to miss the season. And let me ask, Alex, I have to ask you a question. Can Lightning strike again, but without having Kucherov in the lineup? I know they won the Cup without Stamkos, but do you think that they're going to survive this season without Kucherov on opening night and for the whole season?
I'll tell you what. Do I think they're going to win the Cup again? No, I don't. But they're still going to make the playoffs. But you know what? Kucherov is such a big part of that team. And I don't see something working without him there. I know they have Stamkos. They still have Braden Point. You know, I get
Victor
that.
Hedman, Vasilevsky.
Yeah.
And all those. And I sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but there's this 1.2. The Lightning barely made it to the Cup final with Kucherov against the Islanders. And now they don't have him. So it does bring up to your point of, will they win the Cup?
I don't know.
Who knows? Because Kucherov did kind of carry that team. But so I'm going to cut you off, but I thought that was a good,
you're fine. Another big thing for him is they re-signed Pat Maroon to another 2 years. So I know that's not a Kucherov level signing, but he was a big part of their Cup win. He was a big part in St. Louis. They still have Cirelli and Yanni Gourde and Alex Killorn and stuff like that, but I don't see him winning it. I could see him maybe in the conference finals or what would normally be the conference finals. So the Cup semifinals, round 3. We'll just say round 3, make it easy. I don't know, man. It's going to be a tough year for him. That's for sure.
Yeah. I don't really see, going on like they did without Stamkos is one thing, but losing your guy in Kucherov, I think that's going to be a huge blow to them. Yeah. Like you said, they still have all these other names too, but I don't see the Lightning doing very much in terms of winning the Cup. Now, will they do something in the Central? Yes. But winning the whole thing? Probably not. Because losing Kucherov for the whole year, who was basically your offense for the most part, that's going to be really tough. And I don't think Lightning's going to strike again.
No.
To them winning going back to back.
Now, who knows? Maybe Kucherov, his rehab or something could, I don't know, finish early. He could get done with it. He could get healthy soon. And maybe if he could come back with a couple weeks left in the regular season, if they're in first or second place, get him in the lineup, obviously, because it's Kucherov, but get him in the lineup, let him get the rust off. And who knows, maybe they could be back at full strength for the playoffs. But I don't see him playing any of the regular season from what I have seen. And if so, it's going to be very late in the regular season that he comes back.
Yeah, for sure. So I agree with you. It's I don't think the Lightning are going to do very much. It's like I said, division wise, yes. Winning a Cup, no.
Yeah.
Not without Kucherov. So we're going to stay in Florida. So how will the Panthers fare, in your opinion? How do you think the Panthers are going to fare with Wenberg and Duclair this season? And do you think Bobrovsky can be the Bobrovsky that we saw in Columbus, where winning Vezinas, carrying the team and stuff like that? So, I mean, what are your thoughts on basically having 3 former Blue Jackets in Florida? Do you think they're going to do anything for the Panthers?
Oh, and they also they've got 4, because there's also Marcus Nudavara that's down there. So,
oh yeah, there you go. I forgot about him too.
I don't know. I think personally, I liked Wenberg. It kind of sucked seeing him get his contract bought out, but as a Blue Jackets fan, it needed to happen. We needed to move on. We got Max Domi to fill that other spot, but maybe he needs a change of scenery to get his game back on track. When he's hot, he's hot. He's really good, but it was not very often. Anthony Duclair is a very interesting character. He had spurts of brilliance with the Blue Jackets, but I know he was only with us for half of a season, I believe, and they traded him to Ottawa, as part of I think the Ryan Dzingel trade when we ended up getting him.
Yeah.
I don't know. The fact that he turned down a multi-year, like $4 million contract in Ottawa to represent himself, and then ended up getting a 1.7 million 1-year deal in Florida. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Which still makes no sense to anyone. There's hockey people all around. They're like, that doesn't make any sense why you would turn down a multi-year deal with Ottawa. Because to take a prove-it-year deal with the Panthers where you kind of did prove yourself in Ottawa. So, I mean, it still makes no sense why Duclair would do that.
I'm not sure. Overall, I think we'll see a better Bob this year. I really do. But Vezina caliber, no way. Because he won the Vezina with the Blue Jackets defense in front of him. And I'm sorry, there is not a single person on this planet that can convince me that the Panthers have a better defensive core than the Blue Jackets.
Outside of Yandel, not really.
I mean, you hear Keith Yandel. Yeah, most people that pay attention to hockey know who that is. The rest of their defense, not a clue.
I mean, outside of Yandel, the Sonk Master, I don't really see very much in that defense to help Bobrovsky at all.
I see their offense getting, kicking up this year. You got Winberg and Duclair, and then you got Patrick Hornquist. I see their scoring going up, but they still have defensive issues that they need to get figured out. Bob was playing behind Seth Jones and Zach Werenski forever. And then on top of that, Torts, his defensive structure makes it easy for goalies to do something.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that Bobrovsky getting that contract they did in Florida, do you think it was an overpay by the Panthers, given the fact that, do you think that maybe we're actually seeing Bobrovsky getting exposed down in Florida? And do you think that maybe just because, like you're saying, with Tort's structure and the defense that he had, do you possibly think it was an overpay? And do you think that it was system and circumstances that helped Bobrovsky be as good as he was in Columbus to get that contract? And now we're seeing that maybe the contract's maybe just product of his environment in Columbus. How do you feel?
My opinion is that it was a terrible contract. And my reason being, they just dealt with this exact same situation with Luongo. When he was in Florida, he had the exact same huge term, a high value, long-term contract, and nobody wanted it. So then he ended up retiring. And they made, they were saying that, oh, we don't want to do that again. Well, you just did it again. And, they need to get the cap and spend it on what needs to be fixed. So they need to fix their defense, not get a goalie and spend $10 million on it. It just doesn't make sense. So let's see here. Luongo's last contract that he had. Wow. Okay. So this was before they could only do it 8. Apparently in 2010, 2011, he signed a 12-year deal for $5.3 million a year. And he fell off the face of the earth. And if I remember correctly, like 15, 16.
Mm-hmm.
And it was terrible. And then now you sign an 8-year or 7-year deal to Bob for $10 million, which is more than this 12-year deal. It's crazy to me. They need to focus on what they need to fix, not try and get the best goalie in the world, because you don't need the best goalie in the world.
Yeah, with that defense, it doesn't really do. So like I said, so do you think that because that you think that Bobrovsky was as good as he was, do you think it was more of the system more than the guy himself?
I would say about 80% yes. It definitely helped. It made it very easy. We weren't scoring a lot. The Blue Jackets are not a very high scoring team, but I think our defensive structure helped him to be the Vezina winning goalie that he was. And I think that going in Florida is going to expose that a little bit.
I already think it is. I already think that how Florida plays their game, I think it's already exposed Bobrovsky, and I think that this contract is a massive overpay. And I think the only reason why Bobrovsky was good is because of the system around him. And that's some people tell me I'm wrong. You can DM me and quote tweet me and whatever. Or, you can tweet at me all you want. I honestly think that it's an overpay, and I think it was I think it's more 90-10. I think it's the system.
Yeah,
I think it was totally the system that helped Bobrovsky be good, and the fact of what the defense he had in front of him. Honestly, I don't think Bobrovsky, maybe at the time in Columbus, yeah, we probably did think it was a good goal that he did when he deserved the Vezinas. But now you're like, do you think it's because he's older? Yes. Do you think it's also the system? I really think it is.
Yeah.
So I think Bobrovsky is getting really exposed of what kind of caliber goalie that he is. I don't think he's a $10 million goalie, in my opinion.
No,
he's getting exposed for it.
I hope, I wish him the best down there, and hope maybe their system will change, because they just hired Bill Zito as their GM in the offseason, which was the Blue Jackets assistant GM.
And they also got Q. So,
So who knows? Maybe it'll change. This year, no, it won't be this season. I think he will be mediocre at best this season again.
For sure. So our last topic before we do our season predictions for the Central Division, the Red Wings. They still stink. They lost the first overall pick because welcome to the NHL, where we have a draft lottery, and we're not the NBA where you get the worst, you're not the NFL where you get the worst record, you get the first overall pick. I think they're in a full rebuild. Do you think the Red Wings will ever get out of this cellar that they're in? Because I've seen nothing that shows that they're gonna do a whole lot. They still have Jimmy Howard.
No,
Jimmy Howard. On now?
Well, so he was a free agent after last season, and no one signed him. If I remember, he is unsigned.
Okay, so I'll rephrase this. Who on the Red Wings is actually going to do something for this team? I mean,
I don't know. I mean, Dylan Larkin's good, and Anthony Mantha's good. Tyler Bertuzzi I think he is on the verge of being very good. But
do you think this is?
I think this is a couple year deal with them, honestly, because
I think it's going to be another 5 seasons at least, in my opinion.
Well, Steve Yzerman as their GM, I think that is one of the best decisions they have made in a long time for that franchise.
That might speed up the process of this rebuild, but
being a
yikes
former captain, Stanley Cup winner, part of that franchise for so long, I think that's a fantastic decision on their part.
For sure. Yeah, we do have to give the Red Wings credit to get Stevie Y back. That's huge.
The one thing that I think they need to do I don't want to say speed up the rebuild, but to help, is they need a captain. They don't have one, and that needs to be Dylan Larkin. I'm sorry, it needs to be Dylan Larkin.
He's the only choice. He's the only choice.
But they have a ton of picks. Looking at this, this upcoming draft, they have 1 first-round pick. They have 3 second-round picks, 2 third-round picks. They have a ton in the next 3 drafts. So they have a lot of assets to trade for guys. Right. I had heard rumors that eventually when Zach Werenski hits unrestricted free agency, allegedly he wants to go to Detroit because that's where he grew up.
Ooh,
I mean,
man.
I wouldn't be upset if he left. Let me rephrase that. I would be mortified if he left because he's great. But if he went there, I could totally understand it. But I don't want him going anywhere. I want him to sign a 12-year deal worth $5.3 million.
Yeah. Okay. Can we talk about the new goal horn in Detroit? How trash that sounds?
Well, first off,
if fans haven't seen this yet, go look on YouTube for this video of this goal horn that they had during this shootout competition. I think they had.
It sounds like a dying whale that had was playing a video of the original goal horn from MySpace. I mean, it was horrendous. First, you go from Joe Louis, which you can't beat the Joe. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. Then they go to Little Caesars Arena. You know, my wife and I went up there. It's an awesome arena. It was a really cool area. I mean, the whole area around the arena is sweet. But they recorded the goal horn. They didn't bring it. They didn't do anything like that. They had a recording of the goal horn. So automatically you lost credibility with that. Now, whatever this new nonsense is, they altered it and it sounds even worse. Like, why? Just, I don't understand why you didn't bring the horn from the Joe in the first place.
It makes no sense. And it just adds to the laundry list of nonsense in Detroit. It is what it is. So I'll start us off with this last season prediction of the regular season. Then we'll do our overall, who we think is going to win the Stanley Cup. So for the Central, I have Detroit finishing last. I don't think anyone's really shocked because it's Detroit. They've done pretty much nothing. I got Florida finishing 7th. I know some people are like, wait, 7th? Are you sure about that? They do have some guys. Like we talked about earlier, I just don't see the defense outside of Yandel. And if Bobrovsky just has another mediocre season where he's letting in 5-6 goals a game, but the Panthers are scoring 8 to 9 goals, it's going to be tough. I don't think Florida's going to do a whole lot. 7th, I have my Chicago Blackhawks. I'm not going to be that delusional Hawks fan that I don't think really is any delusional Hawks fans. We all know what the situation's like. Losing Jonathan Toews, I mean, we'll talk about this in our period 3 segment. Losing Toews, losing Dach, losing Crawford, free agency, trading Leonard. It's going to be a tough year.
It wasn't good for you guys.
Starting out, you could probably make some noise that we probably could have maybe gotten lucky and gotten 4th if we scrapped our way into it, which at the back end of the season it looked like we kind of were. And the fact that we dealt, we bounced Edmonton in the play-in round and they were hosting was pretty huge. And unfortunately, we ran into the buzzsaw that was Vegas. I would have said that, we might have had a shot for something huge going into the season if we still had Dach and Toews and an actual capable goalie. Now, I see us finishing 6th. It is what it is.
Okay.
It's unfortunate. I got Nashville finishing 5th. I just don't think Pecorine is still going to I think he's going to be mediocre like he was last year. He's aging. I don't really know who their backup is. I don't know how they're going to fare really well. They do have Roman Josi, but outside of that, I really don't know. I know they have Matt Duchene and some other guys as well, but I still think Nashville is that team where they could get hot at the right time and sneak their way into the playoffs, but I still think they're going to finish 5th.
Okay.
My top 4, I have Dallas finishing 4th. He has to bring pretty much everyone back. They're a really good team. I still think Colorado would have gotten to the Cup final or at least Vegas. It's just Dallas got hot at the right time. They got a lot of lucky bounces in that Vegas series. I think if Vegas got a couple more bounces, I think Vegas would have moved on over Dallas, in my opinion. But I think Dallas right now, I think they're the 4th best team just because they still pretty much have everyone, but they mostly got hot at the right time, in my opinion, for that run that they got on. And they got a lot of lucky bounces their way in the playoffs. 3rd, I have the Carolina Hurricanes finishing 3rd. And Carolina is really good. They still got their goalie tandems. They still got Brett Pesce, Jacob Slavin. They still got Svechnikov, Jordan Staal. I mean, they got Dougie Hamilton there. I mean, Carolina is going to be a force. They still got Teuvo Teravainen and all of that. They got, they got, I think, Sketchy, or I don't know how to pronounce his last name. So sorry. Fair warning to you guys who listen to this podcast from now until forever for this podcast. I might butcher some names, so just throwing it out there now. So sorry if I butchered your name wrong.
Are you talking about Brady Shea?
No, not Brady Shea. I thought they had Sketchy or Scratchy or. Is it Shea?
Is it? If it's the SKJEI, that's Brady Shea.
Oh yeah, I really screwed it up. Yeah, Brady Shea. That's my bad. Wow, I wasn't even close on that. So I'll probably get some angry tweets from Carolina fans, but it's okay.
That's fine. That's
Well,
Carolina.
I mean,
no big deal.
well-
You're the Whalers.
Well, actually, they're my dad's team, and we actually went to Game 7 when they won the Cup in 06. So I actually got to see a Stanley Cup final.
No, nice.
So yeah, I mean, we lived in Raleigh for 3 years. So yeah, so Carolina's kind of like my team just because of we went to a lot of games and went to a Cup final, but that's my dad's team mostly. Second, not because you're my co-host and a good friend, but I do have Columbus finishing second because when you have Merce Leakins and Corby Salo in goal, how can you not get excited for that? I mean, that's just
with the amount of games that we're going to be playing in such a short amount of time. You have to have two solid goalies, and I really think we have a fantastic goalie tandem.
Outside of Vegas, I think Columbus is like the second best tandem in the league. And just for the fact that Merce Leakins, because wasn't last year's Merce Leakins, was that his rookie season last year with you guys? And the fact that he's gotten a year older and now he's going to have a full season with Corpy and Torts and Werenski and Seth Jones. And for the fact that you guys just got, got some race signings on your team. We'll talk about that the next part, but you still have Nick Foligno and everyone else. I mean, Columbus, you guys did knock out the Maple Leafs because you guys had the playoffs are kind of rough for the most part after that. But honestly, man, I think Columbus, they're finally at that point where you got to give them respect to be like, all right, this team is going to do something. And I think they have that shot to finish second in the division. Them and Carolina, you could swap the 2-3.
Absolutely.
For sure. Cause they're that close, but I think Columbus, just because of their goalie tandem, gets them that second spot. And obviously I have Tampa winning. Yeah. We said that Tampa might not win the Cup, but we're not saying that they're not going to win the East or the Central. I'm so used to them being in the, Eastern Conference, and now we got West teams. You get my point. Tampa is good. I mean, they're going to be a wagon. They're going to be a force. I don't think they're going to win the Cup, but I mean, they're going to win that division pretty solidly. But Columbus 2, Carolina 3, those two are going to be close together, and Dallas getting in. Dallas and Nashville might be a coin toss, depending on how hot Nashville gets and if Dallas falls apart. But yeah, I think Tampa, Columbus, Carolina, and Dallas are going to get in the playoffs in the Central.
So
who are your Central picks?
With mine, I'll just make it easy. The top 5 picks, you and I have the exact same thing.
There we go.
I have Detroit finishing in last.
Mm-hmm.
I have Chicago finishing in 7th. And
makes sense. I'm not mad about that. I mean,
it's a year. I mean, you guys had so much go on, especially losing Toews. That is going to hurt. And then with Kirby Dach, first off,
the whole season.
If you didn't see the picture of his wrist after taking or that hit in the juniors, it was disgusting.
It wasn't even an actual game that mattered.
Mm-mm.
It was just a warm-up game.
Yeah, I mean, his wrist went like in 3 different directions. It
was a literal S curve. Like you could go to Mid-Ohio and see that formation.
Oh yeah. And
that's what his wrist was. For anyone who's not from Ohio, Mid-Ohio is a road course in Mansfield. So I mean, and if you've been there, I know people from Ohio probably have. You know what I'm talking about. That was ugly.
It's pretty crazy. But yeah, so obviously Nashville in 5th. So Nashville and I have Dallas in 4th.
So I'm assuming you have Florida in 6.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I do have Florida. I guess I missed that.
Okay.
I have Florida in 6th place.
Okay.
Again, like we said before, I don't think they're going to amount to much this year.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just don't think they will. I don't think they have the right pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Nashville in 5th, and then I have Dallas in 4th. Those two I think could swap. Mm-hmm. But what I think is going to be the ultimate factor is Dallas's goalies. If Hudobin and who's their other goalie? I don't remember off the top of my head.
I know. Well, is Bishop still in the IR, or is he actually good to go for the season?
So he's fine now. So Bishop and good old Dobby.
That's
if
that's
they're
that's
good,
a solid tandem.
if they're good, they're going to take that 4th spot. But if not, I think Nashville's going to take it.
And think about this too. They have Klinberg, they have Rupe Hintz, they got Heikkinen. I mean, they still got Jamie Benn. They still got Tyler Seguin. Yeah, Dallas they're going to be a solid team for sure.
Yeah, I do. Obviously, Carolina in 3 and Columbus in 4th or 2nd. Again, they can be swapped. I think they're going to be separated by a couple of points. With Columbus, I'll talk about it a little bit more in the period 3, but I think the 2 big things is going to be our scoring and our goalies. If our goalies can get started early, I think we'll be in 2nd. And if our scoring can get started, what little scoring we do have, we picked up some pieces in the off season. I really do think that we can easily finish in 2nd. Now, Tampa in 1st, obviously. So with Tampa, I had run through a couple scenarios, and there was one of them I personally, and this isn't a bias, I had Columbus finishing in 1st. And the reason I had that is because who knows, Tampa could absolutely fall apart without Kucherov. I mean, if he's gone the whole year, they could absolutely fall apart. And I'm not saying they're going to tank and Detroit is going to be ahead of them. No, Detroit's going to be in last. Let's all be honest with ourselves. But Tampa could just not, they could not have any type of a cohesion without Kucherov. But we don't know until the season starts.
They could probably still make the playoffs.
Oh, easy. Yeah. I'm not saying they're going to go and fall to 4th place or anything, but
they could finish 2nd possibly.
Yeah.
And either Carolina or Columbus could take that 1 spot if they just catch up at the right time and get hot and stuff.
Simply put, Tampa, Columbus, and Carolina, in my opinion, are just a coin toss for the top 3. I have no idea.
I can agree with
finish
that.
Where. And Dallas could be in the mix too. That all depends on what happens with their scoring guys. But Columbus, we're not going to be a high scoring team. I'm kind of hoping that changes this year with the guys that we got. But I think our defensive core and our structure and our goalies are just going to obliterate everybody.
Oh, for sure. No, I can agree with that 100% for sure. So we're going to do our final 4 picks because, all the divisions are going to get together, top 4 play each other in the first couple rounds. And then we're going to have division winners all meet up in the semifinal, and then they're going to have a reseed. So we can't really predict who's going to win who over what in the cup final. So we're going to have our cup final pick, but we're not going to say over who and how many games. We are going to do that once we get into the playoffs and when we have our final 4 episode and where we kind of know more of who's going to basically when the Stanley Cup's about ready to happen. Then we're going to have our cup picks of like who and how many games someone's going to win. So we're going to have that later on. It's just right now we can't say who's going to be over who in the cup final just because reseedings and everything else. So basically we're going to do our top 4, who we think is going to win and make the semifinals of the cup finals. And then we're going to have our actual cup winner. And then we'll add in all the other stuff at a later time when we're at that period. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yep.
So my top 4 or my final 4, sorry, Tampa Bay, Philadelphia, Colorado, and Edmonton.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to tell you my cup winner after your final 4. So
okay.
Alex, who are your final 4?
So mine are pretty different from yours. So my final 4 is I have Colorado, obviously. I have Montreal. I have the Islanders, and I also have the Blue Jackets.
You think the Blue Jackets are going to pull a little sneaky sneak on the on Tampa and whoever they play as the 3 as possible over Carolina then as the 3
I honestly think I hope that Blue Jackets and Tampa make it and we eventually face off in the playoffs for a 3rd year in a row. And
I think it's going to be Tampa
this year.
I think it's going to be Tampa and Columbus. Honestly, I'm just going to tell you right now, if it's going to be like with that top 4, I think it's going to be Toronto and Columbus in that 2nd round, possibly going to the semifinal, in my opinion.
You mean Tampa?
What'd I say?
Toronto.
Damn. Sorry, this playoff format's going to mess me up. Sorry.
Yeah.
My bad to everyone. Sorry.
You're fine.
Tampa, and Columbus.
Yeah.
This restructure is going to just annoy the crap out.
It's going to be interesting for sure, but
it's episode 1, guys. We'll get better, we promise.
So yeah, obviously my final four: the Blue Jackets, Islanders, Montreal, and Colorado. Now, my Cup champs out of those 4, I have Colorado winning the Cup.
Okay.
So I don't know who over who. No idea.
How many games? Do you have the games?
So I have them in 7. So the way I went through mine, I have Colorado facing the Islanders in the finals and winning in 7.
So are you going by, because I know from what I'm hearing, they're going to do a restructure to where the top 4 seeds or the final 4 teams are going to be ranged by seeds of, what was it? Record? Like who had the best record in the regular season, or was it points? I can't remember.
I don't know.
Did they actually specify that? Because I don't remember reading it anywhere of how their playoff format with the final 4. Because I know it's a reseed in the final 4, but I forget what the seeding process was.
I don't really remember seeing it. I'm sure it's out there, but I don't remember what it is. That's just, I kind of went based off of like what we talked earlier, just a general, all right, West would play the North and Central would play the East.
Gotcha.
I know that's not how it's going to be, but you know, I think the Islanders could possibly do it, but there's so many variables this year. I mean, again,
taxi squads, and
you could have Colorado who's dominating and half of their team could go out with COVID. And then they could plummet. We have no idea. There's so many variables this season. It is insane.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I have Colorado winning the Cup this year. If their guys all stay healthy, it's so hard to beat them. They're so good.
Yeah. Well, I don't have Colorado winning. I think they're going to be a force, but I think the team I picked might have an answer to the Avalanche if they somehow meet up, but who really knows? I have the Philadelphia Flyers winning the Cup this year.
Okay.
In 7. I didn't do what you said, like figuring who they're going to be, because I don't know. I could be completely wrong. So I just went with the team in the games. And I think Philly's going to do it in 7.
Okay.
I think just with Carter Hart, you know, they were good last year. I think they would have actually, if they, you know, they just caught the Islanders I think it was the Islanders at the wrong time. I think the Flyers would have had a really good shot of doing something in the Cup in the playoffs last year. And I think everyone's a year older now. Carter Hart's got that spot locked down. I think the Flyers are going to do something. I think they're going to win the whole thing this year. Okay. Now watch me be completely wrong, and then I'm just going to get just torched on Twitter, which, yeah, you know what, it's fine. You know,
yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it is what it is.
If you guys are going to torch anyone, torch Zach, not me.
Yeah, says the guy who has Columbus in the Final 4, but you know, I digress from that. So.
Have fun being in 7th.
I'm already preparing myself for it. I mean, I got the NHL package. I paid them to get the whole thing, so I get to watch Columbus as well. So I mean, for the podcast reasons, but it's what it is.
So we'll get started with period 3 here in a second. One thing I do want to let you guys know, if you're listening to this, we both apologize that this episode is going to be super long. There is a lot to talk about between just our 2 teams and everything that's happened in the off season, from the trades, acquisitions, signings, everything. Normally it's not going to be like this. We're going to have our period 1 is going to be, we're going to try and touch as much in the NHL as possible. And as we did earlier, we talked about the World Juniors. Zach was talking about the Women's Hockey League a little bit, some college hockey. Period 2, we're going to specifically talk about the Central Division this year with the realignment. And then the third period, we're going to talk about, try and primarily focus on the Blackhawks and the Blue Jackets. So if you're just now tuning in, we're about to start touching into the Blue Jackets and the Blackhawks. And again, we're sorry it's so long, but we have a lot to talk about, and we love just talking hockey. So if you like listening, great.
Yeah, for sure. So like I said, we're not usually probably going to have 2.5 hour episodes. We're going to try to keep it at least an hour and a half and shorter. So like Alex said, bear with us for the first episode. It's just a little bit longer because of all the stuff we have to talk about. Because it's our first episode. A lot's happened over the last week, and predictions and everything else. So trust us, we're not gonna have super long episodes. They're not gonna be chiclets. They're gonna have like 3-hour shows. We could do it, but for you guys, we don't want to do something like that. So period 3. We got the expansion draft coming up soon with the Seattle Kraken because they are going to start, funny enough, this year, but not this particular season, the 2021-2022 season. So, Alex, let me ask you, do you know for sure right now of who are the possible protected players for the Columbus Blue Jackets in terms of the expansion draft?
So the one thing with it, there are automatic exempt players based on their time in service.
Right.
Or if they have a no move. I believe if they have a no move clause in their contract, they're automatically protected specifically because of that. I'm looking here, and on the Blue Jackets, the automatic exempt, we have Emil Bemstrom, Alexander Texier, Liam Foudy, Trey Fwix-Wolanski, Daniel Czar, Jacob Christensen, Tim Burney, Andrew Peak, Veni Vevalainen, Daniil Tarasov, and the big one, Elvis Merzlikins, is automatically protected, so we don't have to worry about him. This is why I think this is great for us, because if so, there are 2 formats. You can pick 7 forwards, 3 defensemen, and 1 goalie, or 8 forwards and a goalie. They're going to protect defensemen. Let's be real. You have Seth Jones, Zach Werenski. Now, I think they're going to protect Vladislav Gavrikov over David Savard. Now, Gavrikov has a longer contract. He is a free agent in 2023, but his cap hit is $2.8 million and Savard's is $4.25. Who I think, okay, so we'll talk about the protected. Jonas Korpisalo is going to be protected. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
Yeah,
he is going to be protected. Elvis Merzlikins is automatically protected. Our goalies are intact. Fine. Our defensemen, I think it's Seth Jones, Zach Werenski, and then Gavrikov. Those 3. Now, our forwards is up in the air. I honestly think it is up in the air. I think Oliver Bjorkstrand is a given. Since he just signed a 5-year extension like 3 days ago, they're going to protect him.
Which was huge for you guys, for sure.
It's massive. He is part of our future. There's no way around that.
Good contract too, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. We can talk about that here in a minute.
Yeah.
The rest of it, honestly, I don't know. So looking on using Cap Friendly, they automatically project who they feel based on their value and everything else is going to be protected. Some of these I agree with, some I don't. On here, they automatically have Nick Foligno, Gus Nyquist, Max Domi, Pierre-Luc Dubois, Boone Jenner, Riley Nash, Oliver Bjorkstrand, and Eric Robinson. Okay, so Nick Foligno and Riley Nash are not ones they think are going to be protected. So it's Eric Robinson, Bjorkstrand, Boone Jenner, Pierre-Luc Dubois, Max Domi, and Gus Nyquist. So, which is why this is confusing to me. They have Nick Foligno and Cam Atkinson not protected. Now, I think Cam is going to be protected, my opinion.
Yeah.
They show Brandon Dubinsky, who he's not going to play another game in his life. Unfortunate. I like the guy, but he's not going to play anymore. Our forwards are just, it's a coin toss, in my opinion. And a lot of it is going to depend on how they do this year. For example, there's Mikhail Grigorenko, who just came from, he was a first round draft pick from, I think, Colorado back in 2012. He played a couple years with them, I think a year with the Sabres, or backwards. And he went and played the KHL for 3 seasons. And then he just signed a 1-year deal with us. He could come out and be a stud. Okay, if that's the case, sign him to like a 4-year extension by the end of the year and then protect him. Fine. I don't know. Honestly, I'm not sure. I think the defensemen and the goalies are pretty set in stone from my perspective, but the forwards, and I have no idea.
Yeah, no. Yeah, to not have Cam Atkinson protected and Nick Foligno, that's kind of odd because you kind of need those guys protected because they're pretty, you know, influential in your offense and stuff like that. So, yeah, I don't see why they would have them. Why that would happen? That makes no sense to me whatsoever.
No.
No, yeah, no. I think your protected. I think your protected list actually makes more sense compared to cap friendly. That makes no sense why they would do that. But for the Blackhawks, so I got this from Mark Lazarus and Scott Powers from The Athletic. If you guys don't have The Athletic, I would definitely recommend getting it. I know right now I still think it's $1 a month to get it, but it is $7.99 usually. And honestly, for me, I think it's worth it just because you get a lot more in depth and more lengthy articles and more stuff that that you wouldn't really get anywhere else. I mean, yeah, with the Blackhawks and Blue Jackets beat writers, you do have some good stuff from like Charlie Meliodas and Eric Lear and all of them. And I know for you, Alex, with all your Columbus guys outside of The Athletic, you guys probably have some pretty solid writers too. But
Absolutely.
So do you have The Athletic at all by chance?
I do. And, being able to follow them and, off of hockey for a second, being able to read stories on the Columbus Crew and the Reds and, I'll follow the Indians and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, it sounds terrible saying, oh, I have to pay for this subscription. But from a sports article and writing perspective, it's probably one of the best things I've ever done. There's some great stories. There's some fantastic writers there, and they have some really good information they put out almost on a daily basis. I 100% recommend it.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I mostly have The Athletic just for the Indians and Blackhawks. Yeah, I'm from Northeast Ohio. I'm originally from, Ravenna, Warren area, but hour south of Cleveland. I could get it for the Browns and all that, but I mostly grew up on baseball and hockey, and that's the two teams I follow. So that's why I got The Athletic, because it's really good. I think it's worth it. So if you haven't yet, jump on the $1 offer. If not, it's $8. It's not really breaking the bank. I would definitely recommend getting it. But so like I said, I read this article by by Mark Lazarus and Scott Powers, and they have the guys who are exempt from this expansion draft. Nicholas Beaudin, Adam Boquist, Kirby Dach, Doug Kubalik, and Ian Mitchell. Basically, guys who've played 2 years or less by the end of the 2020-2021 season, which now is 2021, still kind of factors in. Those guys are just automatically exempt. They've all played under 2 years. They're not going to be moved on. Guys that have to get protected from the Hawks. I mean, Patrick Kane does have a no movement clause through the end of 2022-2023. It's not like the Hawks will leave him exposed. Duncan Keith, no movement clause, 2022-2023. Seabrook's no movement clause. His contract ends at 23-24. Jonathan Toews, also another no movement clause, 22-23. Likely to be protected. This is a really good list for guys that they talk with. This is before Dylan Strome got his extension. Alex DeBrincat, Dylan Strome, guys in the bubble, Lucas Carlson, Calvin DeHaan, Connor Murphy, Alex Nylander, Brandon Saad, who's now in Colorado, Andrew Shaw. They do have Corey Crawford, who we'll talk about here in a little bit. Colin Delia, makes sense. I think Colin Delia is the future goalie of the Blackhawks. Kevin Lankinen, that kind of makes sense because he's supposed to be really good too. So I can see them doing that. Guys they said that could get exposed: Ryan Carpenter, Drake Caggiula's gone, Dennis Gilbert, Matthew Highmore, David Kampf, Oli Mata is now in LA, John Quenneville, Zach Smith they just put on waiver, so he's pretty much gone. For me, the guys that I can probably see the Blackhawks retaining, I would say Alex DeBrincat is going to get, they're going to protect him. I think, they just re-signed Dylan Strome for I think it was a 2-year, $6 million deal. I think they're going to keep him as well because they just re-signed him. They kind of need him now at this point.
Yep.
Patrick Kane, Duncan Keith, Brent Seabrook, Jonathan Toews, and I think that they're going to. I think they're probably going to keep Connor Murphy. I know you sent me an article. I forget who wrote it. I know it was Bleacher Report saying that they picked Murphy to get picked up by the Kraken. Well, I do see that possibly happening, but I think if Connor Murphy is solid as he is on defense, I think the Blackhawks will probably hold on to him a little bit harder than that, because of how good he is in general. So I think they're going to keep him, and I think they're going to pick, and they think they're going to keep Colin Delia as their goalie. Now you could possibly swap Murphy and Lankinen to have two goalies.
Okay.
So I think you could have a case where you can have possibly two goalies saved in Lankinen and Colin Delia and still leave Murphy out. So I think those are my kind of picks of guys who are going to get saved. So you could have a possible two goalies and a bunch of forwards and some defense, or you could have the one goalie and Colin Delia and try to keep Murphy because he's supposed to be, he's one of our better. He's a good overall defenseman for the Blackhawks.
Yeah.
So moving on to contract extension, like I said, Dylan Strum did resign. Got an extension with the Hawks, 2 years, $6 million, which is an AAV of $3 million. They do have a kind of different where I think it's like a little bit less in the first year and a little bit more in the second year, but they're still I think it's like 2.4 and 2.6, but they're still going to count as 3 overall in terms of the contract.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know we talked about earlier with the Blue Jackets, Oliver Bjorkstrand got paid. Alex, yeah. I mean, you have to be ecstatic about keeping Bjorkstrand. Was it a 5-year deal? I mean, yep. That's huge.
They got him on a 5-year, $5.4 million deal. And the thing with that contract
is that per? Is that per year? 5?
Yeah, it's 5.4 per. It's just
that's a great deal. That's a great deal.
It's a great deal now. It could be a fantastic deal down the road because, with Bjorkstrand, his ceiling is so high, and I think he has so much potential. He could end up being 3 times better than he is now. Okay, well, then we're going to have a 40-goal scorer for $5.4 million. And that could be huge with salary cap issues down the road.
Well, especially with the whole Pierre-Luc Dubois situation. I mean, you get Bjorkstrand now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah.
Who could say that maybe Bjorkstrand might be the future captain after Foligno, depending on how long he's there for? I mean, I don't really know. I don't know the Blue Jackets a whole lot, but I mean, if he needs that type of scorer, maybe an alternate captain. But I mean, to have him that long, that's a solid move, especially with PLD probably leaving at some point.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that. I think so with Foligno, he has a contract that is up after next season, if I believe, or it's this season.
Mm-hmm.
It is after this season. So after this season is up, he will be an unrestricted free agent. I personally think he's going to re-sign a couple years with us. I mean, he's 33. He's not going to sign a 7-year deal and go until he's 40.
Right.
He's not a Chara. Chara is just a freak. I see a couple years. I think the big thing for me is it's going to depend on what happens with Seth Jones, because my opinion, Seth Jones is the next captain of this team. If Foligno either leaves in free agency or, he signs a 2-year deal and we happen to get Seth Jones next season to re-sign maybe a 6 or 7-year deal, Seth Jones will be the next captain. That my personal opinion. I mean, he's got the poise. He has the leadership. He's one of the best defensemen in the league.
Yeah, makes sense.
I don't know. I think Pierre-Luc Dubois is going to get traded. My opinion, it's going to be after the season. But
yeah.
I don't know. The Bjorkstrand contract is huge for us.
Without question.
Typically he gets hot about halfway through the year, and then he's just unstoppable. My opinion, I think that's going to change this season. I think he's just going to start with a bang, and he's going to continue all year. I have him as my number 2 point scorer on the team. At the end of the year, I have Cam Atkinson being our number 1. He had a down year last year. I mean, all the Blue Jackets fans, we know this, but he had injuries. He was in and out. There's a lot going on, especially after all the nonsense with Panarin and Bobrovsky leaving and Duchesne leaving. Yeah. I think he's going to rebound. He's going to be our number 1 scorer. And then I got Max Domi at number 3 because I think he needs a big bounce back season with everything that's happened in Montreal, everything that happened before that in Arizona.
Yeah. I mean, I think Domi's in the right spot with Torts and Foligno and Zach Werenski and all these guys. I mean, I was going to ask you that too. Like, how did you feel about, do you think, Bjorkstrand can stay? Do you think he could be hot for a whole season? And do you think Atkinson can probably, bounce back? And I mean, you already
Mhm.
answered those questions for me, but I think Bjorkstrand's going to have a hot year. He's got that contract. I think he's going to feel confident now that, okay, I'm going to be here. I'm going to here to stay. I got this good team around me. We're getting a year older, but we know we can do some playoff runs. Let's go. I think Bjorkstrand's gonna be fine. I think Cam Atkinson is gonna bounce back, and I think the Jackets overall are gonna have a really good year. And do you think the additions will be enough to help their scoring problems that the Jackets kind of had? Because I know you said they don't really score a whole lot, but do you think some of the additions and certain contract extensions and stuff like that, do you think that's going to help the Jackets maybe hit that next step of, all right, now we're going to be a force to be reckoned with
I don't
overall in the Central and the playoffs?
I don't know if we're going to be one of the top scoring teams. There's no way. We don't have a big name guy there. We don't have a McDavid or a Crosby or an Ovechkin or something like that. But,
Mm-hmm.
in the offseason, obviously the big trade, we had Josh Anderson for Max Domi. Max Domi coming in. I think he's looking for a good bounce back season. He came in with us as a restricted free agent without a contract. He signed a 2-year, $5.3 million contract. I think he's looking for a solid season or two to, I don't want to say pad his stats, but kind of bounce that value back up to where it should be for him. Mikko Koivu, I think, is a fantastic addition, not for the scoring perspective. I think he's going to be, he's coming in, most likely going to be our third line centerman, because the Blue Jackets, we've been short on having centers for a long time. It was Pierre-Luc Dubois, Alexander Winberg, and then Boone Jenner, but he's a natural winger. So the benefit of getting Max Domi and Mikko Koivu is we get to move Boone Jenner back out to the wing. Well, before, when he was playing wing, he was good. I'm not saying he's going to be a 40-goal scorer. I could see him getting 20 to 25 goals and 40 assists or something in a normal season. So I'd say about 20 goals for him this season, maybe. But, that gets him back to that normal position. And the big mystery for us is Mikhail Grigorenko, because he hasn't played in the NHL since 2015, I believe, or 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And
something like that.
He was in the KHL for 3 years, and he signed a 1-year deal with us. And he could come in and be terrible, but he could also come in and just surprise everybody. And that's what I'm leaning towards with him. Is I've, been watching the scrimmages and some of the practices with him. He has matured a lot from when he was in the NHL before, and his skill has gone up. You can see that he has that veteran poise that he needs to have to be able to operate in the NHL at a high level. So, the big thing with him is he could be great this year, but the problem is he could leave because he's an unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. But for this season specifically, I don't want to say it's going to put us over the top, but it's definitely going to bounce us up a couple spots if the guys that need to get hot do it. Nick Foligno, he is that physical presence that we need. Is that rough and tough, throwing guys into the boards. Losing Josh Anderson, he has to bump that up. He has to kick it up a little bit. So he's not going to get a lot of points, but he needs to pave the way for Cam Atkinson, Max Domi, Boone Jenner, guys like that to be able to score more and do more with everything else.
Yeah. No, I get it. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what the Jackets do overall with all the additions that they got. So at least for you guys got additions. For the Blackhawks, it's
subtractions.
Yeah, because we talked about earlier, Toews Dach is going to be out because he broke it pretty much fractured, broken, pretty much anything you can do to a wrist he did. He's out 4 to 5 months. He's going to be gone for the whole season. We just lost Jonathan Toews to an undisclosed illness that I'm not going to speculate. It is what it is. It's unfortunate. Who knows when he's going to be back? So now you're down your captain and basically your 1 and 2 centers. We lost all of our goal. We lost Letter last year. Crawford walked because the Hawks didn't really give him a contract. I mean, we'd signed Soderberg. Okay. I mean, I think he's going to do something as probably the number 2 center overall, but I really got to hope that Dylan Strome goes off this year because we've re-signed him to a 2-year deal, and we really need him to step up. And Alex DeBrincat struggled last year after getting that contract that he did, so we really need to get him to get going. And I mean, if Kubalik has another great year like he did last year because he scored 30 goals, he led the rookies in goals, and he was a finalist for the Calder.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I really like him. I mean, I really like Dama Kubalik, good Czech player. He's strong. He's fast. He's got good hands. He, obviously can find the goal. He notched 30 in his rookie year. And I think that he's going to have a really solid year. I think he might get 44 points overall for the season. We still got Patrick Kane. I think he's going to get 62 points. He's probably going to lead the team in scoring again. He might have a say in the heart race and everything else. I don't know about the scoring race or the goal race, but I think he has a chance to do something for the MVP of the season.
No, for sure. No, speaking of Kane sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, what's up?
I was saying, speaking of Kane and Kubalik, you think they can take him into the playoffs? Because they're going to be carrying a lot of the weight.
It really is going to depend on how the defense does with Brent Seabrook. What he's going to do. I don't know how that's going to work out with him. You really got to lean on Duncan Keith, Adam Boquist. Hopefully get Calvin DeHaan for the whole year because he was mostly hurt. Connor Murphy was hurt a lot, so you got to see how he does. We did get Zadorov in that Saad trade, and he's big, he's physical. So I'm excited to see what we're gonna do with Zadorov. Ian Mitchell's supposed to be really good, so we might see a lot of him. It really depends on because unfortunately the defense has given up the most scoring chances the last couple of years. We pretty much have the worst defense in terms of scoring chances allowed overall. And that's when we had Robin Leonard and Corey Crawford, and then we were having a pretty solid season. And then for whatever reason, we're like, oh, we're going to trade Leonard now, which we're in the middle of a playoff hunt, and it's like that made no sense to get rid of him.
Mm-hmm.
And now we got to rely on Colin Delia, Malcolm Subban, and probably Lincoln. And will Kubalik and Kane carry the team? Probably. I mean, if we get more help in scoring in terms of Dylan Strome, and if DeBrincat shows up, and we got Janmark now, we got Walmark. I mean, apparently Pius Suter is supposed to be really good. He's another Czech player who's been doing really well in the scrimmage and the training camp. So if he gets going too, we got Andrew Shaw back for the full season. We know how Andrew Shaw is. I mean, he did have a kid, and from what I've heard, like Andrew Shaw is he's a lot more mature now because he's seen the perspective of like, okay, I'm not Andrew Shaw, the hockey player. I'm a guy who has a family, but I'm also a hockey player. It seems like he's matured a lot too.
Yeah.
He's not the full Andrew Shaw that we saw early in Chicago and in Montreal. So I think having him having a more of a leadership role and a more mature way of playing, because he's been doing really well in the preseason. I'll keep saying preseason. Training camp scrimmages, I think is going to be really solid for us. The Blackhawks, depending on how we do in terms of our defense and our goalie situation, if we get enough scoring help from other than just Kane and Kubalik, and whenever we get Toews back, if we get Toews back, that'll be huge. I need to see how Soderberg does. There's going to be a lot of factors of a lot of guys stepping up offensively to score, and the defense needs to do something, and we got to see if our goalies can play really well. I'm not really sure how that's going to work out. I mean, talking about line predictions, for me, I think this is what the possible line predictions are going to be for the Blackhawks. I think you're going to have Strome as your number one center now because, with Dach and Toews out, they had to make that move to get Strome because other than that, you're going to have a Soderberg, Walmark, and Kampf, and probably Carpenter. I don't really feel safe. I wouldn't really feel great with those guys. So you kind of need to get Strome. So I think it's going to be DeBrincat, Strome, and Kane on the first line. Then you're probably going to have Kubalik, Soderberg, and Shaw as your second line. Suter, Walmark, and Yanmark as your third, and then you're gonna have Highmore, David Kampf, Ryan Carpenter as your fourth line. Defense, I think you're gonna have Keith and Boquist, because Boquist is the the defenseman of the future for the Blackhawks. I think he's gonna need a lot of power play time. He's gonna be really good. I think having him and Keith together is gonna be a solid top pair. Then I think you're gonna have DeHaan and Murphy, or you might have maybe Zadorov and Murphy, depending on what the Hawks want to do with that. I think Zadorov is going to be a second pair guy.
Yeah.
For sure. I think either with him and DeHaan or him and Murphy, I think Zadorov and Murphy would be a solid second pair. Then I think you're going to see DeHaan with Mitchell, Ian Mitchell as your third pair, and maybe you might throw Seabrook in there. So depending on if you need Seabrook to play a lot more, or if Mitchell's doing really well, you might have Seabrook as your number 7 healthy scratch type defenseman, where he might play some nights, because with a lot of these 2-game series, I think they're going to do a lot of split time between Mitchell and Seabrook, because Seabrook's got that huge contract, he's a veteran, he wants to play, and I don't think they want to throw Mitchell in the fire as of right now. So
no, not yet.
I think you have a solid 7 right there just with those guys. So I think you're going to see a Mitchell Seabrook swap off, depending on what they're going to pair with DeHaan. And then for the goalies, we do have Colin Delia, Malcolm Subban, and Lankinen. I honestly, I think Malcolm Subban's okay. He did have his stint in Vegas when Marc-Andre Fleury was out, but Colin Delia has a lot more playing time with the Hawks. I think Colin Delia is the guy is gonna have a lot more. I think has a better shot of being the number 1 goalie coming out of camp to start the season. So I think overall that's who we're going to be rolling with in terms of our lines and our pairings and our goalies. I think it's going to be Dilly. I think it's going to be Dilly and Subban coming out of camp as our 1-2. So what about the Blue Jackets? What are you guys looking at in terms of possible projected lineups and pairings and stuff?
Well, first we'll take a second and admire the beautiful hair on Duncan Keith. It's beautiful. Just it's great. Looks amazing. Nice and luscious.
Yeah, it's a thing of beauty.
So the Blue Jackets, I think these top 2 lines can be switched a little bit, depending on who's playing better. But right now, I think our top line is going to be Pierre-Luc Dubois at center, Oliver Bjorkstrand, and then Alexander Texier or Mikhail Grigorenko. I think that's all going to depend on how Texier handles himself and how well he plays and how he starts the season off. If he starts the season off mediocre and Grigorenko's better, I think Grigorenko is going to move up to that top line. Second line, I have Max Domi at center with Nick Foligno and Cam Atkinson on the wing. I think that's going to be a solid line of, 2 veterans with one guy who's on the verge of being a veteran. And that's going to be a line of 3 guys that need to bounce back. And I have a feeling that the chemistry between Max Domi and Cam Atkinson is going to be very good. And then Nick Foligno is just going to be dropping bodies to make room. That third pairing, I've got Mikko Koivu at center, Boone Jenner on the wing, and then another swap with it's either Mikhail Grigorenko or Alexander Texier. Okay. Again, I think that's all going to depend. I think the season's going to start opening day or opening night, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be Mikko Koivu, Boone Jenner, and Mikhail Grigorenko. Mm-hmm. Now, we all know Torts. His lines will change after about 2.5 minutes. So who knows where it's going to go after that.
Yeah.
Third line, I've got Riley Nash at center with Liam Foudy and Emil Bemstrom. Now, a lot of people are probably going to be confused because they are going to say, well, where's Eric Robinson? Where's Nathan Gerby? Where's Kevin Stenlund? We have a taxi squad. There's going to be issues this year. Every team's going to deal with it. They're going to play. But those guys should not be in the opening lineup, in my opinion. Not yet. Defense, this top pairing, I know this is a shock to everybody. Seth Jones and Zach Werenski. That's
Oh no, wait, what? What? That's news to me, man.
Nothing's going to happen. I know the world seems like it's ending, but they are not going to be split up. I promise. Second line pairing got David Savard and Vladislav Gavrikov. Again, those two are horses together. Not a scoring line, not high scoring, not big on assists, but both of those guys will drop in front of every single puck and block everything. David Savard last season was, I think, second out of all of the block shots in the NHL. I don't remember who was in first, but Savard had, I think, something ridiculous, like 170, 180 block shots or something like that. I saw in a stat on the playoffs.
Jeez.
The guy is insane. The fourth line is where things are going to be weird. So I think Dean Kukin is going to be one of our defensemen. And then the second defenseman on that pairing is either going to be Andrew Peeke or Michael Del Zotto. Now, Del Zotto is currently with us on a professional tryout, but he has history with Tortorella when he played in New York with the Rangers, and Torts was his coach.
Mm-hmm.
Torts just said in an interview the other day that, they had issues when Del Zotto was in New York and he was young. They had a lot of issues, but he grew out of it. He became more mature, became intelligent, became wise with the puck, things like that. And I think Torts is able to recognize that. So I thoroughly think that Del Zotto is going to sign probably a 1-year deal, maybe a 2-year deal with us. But if so, it's going to be Kukin and Del Zotto on that third line. If not, it's going to be Kukin and Andrew Peeke. Scott Harrington is a great utility guy. I don't think he's a starting caliber defenseman. He's good when you need him. Same thing with Adam Clendenning. He's a good defenseman, but when you need him.
Yeah.
Goalies, flip-flop, just toss a coin. Opening night, I think it's going to be Corpy. I really think Corpy's going to be the starter. He still has that edge over Elvis because Corpy just seems more... Elvis has the personality. Corpy is very... he internalizes everything. So he's not very outgoing. He doesn't talk a lot. He just is nice and calm in net, other than his couple outbursts he had last season.
Yeah.
But, I think it's going to start with Corpy. And honestly, I have a feeling it'll be Corpy, then Elvis, then Corpy and Elvis, until one of them proves that it's their net. And if they get hot, they're going to stay in goal, knowing Torts, he is going to keep them in net the entire time until one of them shows him that they don't deserve to be in there anymore.
Man, that'd be a great problem to have.
Oh, I bet.
Oh, well, wait, I did have that problem last year when we had Crawford and Leonard, but
yeah, I can imagine.
Not so much anymore.
Yeah. So speaking of the Blue Jackets roster, if you guys haven't been paying attention, Pierre-Luc Dubois, okay, was a restricted free agent, signed a 2-year contract on New Year's Eve. Everybody was ecstatic. We wanted more, but we didn't care because it was a contract. It was 2 years, $5 million. The next day, it came out that he requested a trade because he wants to be in a bigger market. So I don't understand why people don't want to stay in Columbus.
It's a nice city. I mean,
it's a nice city. I mean, I don't see any banners. We don't have any banners up yet. We're not Nashville. We don't put banners up for winning a game. But
regular season champs.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Yeah, adorable, guys. There's so much going on with that. So,
I mean, but the culture of the city is just so great, though. I mean, you got so many bars there. You got so much. You got so much to do. I mean, the Columbus Crew are getting a nice new stadium. I mean, it's not like Columbus is a dump. I mean, we're not talking about Edmonton where there's absolutely nothing there. No offense to Edmonton, but
I mean, I get it. Panarin wanted to go to a bigger market. He went to New York. They did virtually nothing last year. Fine. I'm not saying they never will, but if he wants to leave, that's his right. But at the same time, he's a restricted free agent. They still own his rights for 4 more seasons. So
they don't have to move him.
In my opinion, there's going to be a couple situations that play out here. One, simple. He's going to change his mind, sign a long-term deal. Problem solved. 2, he's going to complain, but Jarmo Kekalainen is going to keep him for 4 years until he hits unrestricted. So it's going to be he'll get to this end of this contract, and they're going to do this contract negotiation nonsense again, and he's going to sign a 2-year deal. Well, at the end of that 2-year deal, he will be unrestricted free agent, and he can go wherever he wants.
Yeah, because isn't Jarmo known to basically just lay the hammer down on restricted free agents? Like, he just takes no prisoners with the restricted free agent guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I heard that's kind of like his MO. Like, he's like, oh, that's cute. You want to do something about it? All right, here you go.
And, I could see him being a guy that, okay, Pierre-Luc Dubois wants to go to a big market. I could see Jarmo being a guy that says, okay, well, hey, guess what? You've been traded to Arizona. Or, hey, I traded you to Nashville. Well, that's not really a bigger market at all. He's just going to trade him for the pieces that he wants on the team. So
sends him to Anaheim.
Yeah,
like, hey, it's near LA. There's your bigger market. Have fun with it.
Surprisingly enough, there are actually a couple teams that are allegedly leading in the trade rumors, inquiring about Pierre-Luc Dubois. One of them happens to be Anaheim. I don't know who they would give back. I don't know what they would get, but Anaheim is one of those teams. Another one is Winnipeg. This has been going around everywhere. Pierre-Luc Dubois for Patrick Laine. I
was ready to say that. Like, do you go with the straight up one for one? Just trade 2 guys who just don't want to be in their cities and just swap them.
Well, the problem is Winnipeg has 2 guys. So you have Patrick Laine, and then you have Jack Roslovic, who just requested a trade as well, who happens to live in Columbus, he's from Columbus. And
there you go.
The rumor was that, he's staying in Columbus until he gets traded. Well, I mean, okay, but he's like a Riley Nash type guy. He's nothing big. If you look at his stats, he's not a playmaker at all. He is a 3rd or 4th line guy that is an additional piece that, hey, do you want to trade these guys? Oh, we need 1 extra piece. Yeah. Okay. Throw this guy in there. Why not? That's fine. Get rid of him.
You would basically need like someone else in draft picks if you guys take them.
That one's tough. I'll touch that here in a second. The next team is Montreal. Now, I've seen 2 reports from Montreal. One that was saying the only way they're going to get Pierre-Luc Dubois is if Kotkaniemi and Nick Suzuki are in that package.
There you go.
Don't think they're going to get both of them. And honestly, I think they're going to try and protect both of them.
For sure. And then, you don't give up talent like that.
No. And if I remember correctly, I think the other one was Boston. I'm not sure. But
interesting.
So this big thing with Pierre-Luc Dubois, trade to Winnipeg for Patrick Laine. Do I think it could happen? Absolutely. So Pierre-Luc Dubois' dad, I believe, is he's a hockey head coach in Winnipeg. I think for either their AHL team or it's a
Manitoba.
Yeah,
it's for the Moose.
So that would make sense. And then Patrick Laine would, I don't want to say it would solve our scoring problems, but it would definitely help.
Yeah, it would. You gotta hope you gotta hope for the good line who actually scores on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
And that one that falls asleep for 2 months because he wants to play video games and not give a crap about scoring actual goals.
I mean, do I think that's going to happen? I think that's the most logical trade to happen, but it will not happen until after the season because there are, right now with all the COVID, there's immigration issues and there's issues with going across the border. So they're not going to trade him when the season starts in 4 days when they have to have a 14-day quarantine. That's automatically putting yourself at a disadvantage for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Same thing with Montreal if they were going to trade for him. If that happens, I think it's going to be at the end of the season, or if, for example, if the Blue Jackets and the Jets both happen to be in a situation where they're tanking, okay, well, fine. What's the worst that can happen? We're still not going to make the playoffs, so might as well.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think from a Blue Jacket standpoint, we hope that he changes his mind and wants to stay in Columbus. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, I like Columbus. I mean, there's a lot going on there, so I don't get the whole perception of, oh, we don't want to be here. Okay.
Yeah, and honestly, I think this Oliver Bjorkstrand signing helped because we had Pierre-Luc Dubois say, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. And then Bjorkstrand's like, okay, well, I do. 5-year deal. Here you go. Have fun.
Oh, Bjorkstrand is such a beauty for doing that. I mean,
it definitely helps. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So the next topic, got the Line A situation out of the way, because I was waiting for that topic to come up, because that's pretty much, with Line A and Pierre-Luc Dubois, I was waiting for that to come up. So the schedules came out, we all know that, but the national TV schedules came out, and I know the Blue Jackets got a whole whopping 4 games on national TV.
A week and a half ago, it was 1, so I am happy with that.
So who are the 4 teams that you guys are going to be facing on national television, and what days?
So I know the first one is actually going to be Monday the 18th at noon, and we're playing Detroit. So that game, I think, is pretty cool.
On a Monday?
So that is Martin Luther King Day.
Okay.
So it's a federal holiday. There's going to be a bunch of games going on there.
Oh, well, I'll probably have that day off, so I might get to watch that game then.
Yeah. The next one, I don't remember who they are. If you know yours, actually, so the next one is going to be against Tampa on that Thursday.
Okay.
That we have. And then I will have to find the other 2. So if you know yours, you can go ahead and touch on those real quick.
Yeah, so we got 10 this year, and I don't know how I feel about having 10 when we're going to be down a good number of guys this year, but we do have Tampa Bay Lightning on opening night on the 13th. Unfortunately for me, because I live in South Carolina, and I have to get the NHL.TV package, that game's on NBCSN, and I don't have regular cable. So I'm going to have to find a different way to watch that, because, blackout restrictions for national TV games. AHL TV is like, oh yeah, sorry, we can't show that game on the stream, even though you just paid, $85 or $100 for it. So there you go. But we got Tampa. We're in Tampa Bay for that night. Then January 24th, we got Detroit. 3 days later, we're in Nashville. And then on February 17th, we got at Detroit. And then on February 28th, we're playing Detroit again. So we have them 3 times on national TV in the first 2 months. And then we got home against Tampa March 7th. 2 days later at Dallas. March 28th, home against Nashville. March 30th, we got Carolina at home. And then April 21st, we have Nashville at home. And that is all 10 of our national TV games, either on NBC or NBCSN. So
wow.
It's gonna be interesting to see how we're gonna have 10 games on national TV, and I got to find ways to watch that other than NHL TV. But it's gonna be interesting. We got Tampa twice, you got Detroit like 3 times, we got Dallas, and we got Nashville twice, and we got Carolina. So it's an interesting overall, schedule for our national TV games.
So our 4, we've got Columbus at Detroit on the 18th at noon. We have Tampa Bay in Columbus on the 21st. So 3 days later at 7. And then we don't have the other one until it was April. So Columbus in Detroit again on March 28th on a Sunday at 3 p.m. And then we have Columbus in Tampa Bay on April 25th at 7. So
okay.
After the sweep, they're really putting Columbus and Tampa Bay on that national network to try and build that rivalry. And I hope they continue to do so, because they're always fun games to watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, we only got 4, which is fine. I would much rather listen to Fox Sports Ohio announcing than the knuckleheads on NBC.
Yeah, I'd rather listen to, Foley and Olchek with NBC Sports Chicago. But like I said, we got 10 games on national TV, and I got to find a different way to watch those games.
Mm-hmm.
So I might have to hit you on the up and up for that. But
I got you.
So yeah, so we got 10 games. You guys got 4. So it'll be interesting to see how we're going to do. Hopefully we can just beat the crap out of the Chirp for those 3 games at least, and make it interesting with Nashville, and hopefully Tampa doesn't beat the brakes off us. So.
I hope so.
So our last topic before we go into our post-game interview is Corey Crawford has officially announced his retirement from the NHL. 10 seasons, played in 488 games, accumulating 260 wins and 2 Stanley Cups and 2 Jennings trophies. He did sign a 2-year deal with the New Jersey Devils. For whatever reason, all we know is it's personal reasons why he retired. I'm not going to speculate on that. I mean, I can understand why Crow might possibly have left because of the fact that he's had concussions over the last few years. One of them took him out from Christmas until basically the rest of the season. Like I said, I'm not going to speculate. Whatever it is, that's between Crawford and his family. And I just wish Corey the best of luck in his retirement and whatever his next endeavors, because I know he has, his girlfriend, or I think his wife. I think they're actually married now, and they have a kid or 2 together. So I'm just excited for Crow for a great season, great career he's had. Gonna miss him. 10 great years with us in Chicago. Got us a couple cups. Very underrated goalie, like we said with Rask earlier. Got a lot of flack for letting in soft goals, but I mean, the dude stood on his head in a lot of the playoffs that we were in. So nothing but the best for Crow, and it stinks that his career's done after 10 seasons. But you know what? 260 wins, 2 cups, 2 Jennings trophies. You can't.
No,
that's just an awesome resume to have.
He was a solid goalie, and that's one of the big pieces from outside of Chicago. Of Chicago, Patrick Kane and Corey Crawford, and it was, I wish him nothing but the best. I hope he has a good retirement and has fun. I think the worst part about all that is the fact that the Devils have to continue to carry that $3.9 million cap hit for the next 2 seasons.
Yeah, because that stupid 35 multi-year. It's like a 35 and over rule, and like multi-year deal where it's like if the guy's over 35 and you give him a multi-year deal, you're still slapped with that cap. I mean, a lot of people are kind of mad at Crawford for screwing the Devils over. I don't think he did it on purpose. It's just something that happened where, something crept up, and it's just like, I have to hang him up. And I think the NHL has to give a rule like that to where it's like, it was unfortunate circumstances. Something came up. I don't think the Devils should get slapped with that cap hit.
No,
if he played a couple games, I can see that, but he didn't play any games that counted. So I think the NHL should be able to find a way to be like, hey, you know what? We're not going to make you take that cap hit, but
something could change down the road. But
I hope they figure it out, because that sucks for the Devils, that the fact they're going to get hit with that cap for 2 years.
For sure.
Yeah. So, but good luck to Crow in his retirement. I wish him the best, and it stinks to see him leave, but you know what? Like I said, hell of a career, 10 years, all that. So.
Mm-hmm.
So we are into our final quote unquote segment of the show. This is our post game interview. So we're every week we're going to ask fans to send in questions, and we're going to answer them. And we did get a couple questions here. So are you ready for this? Ready for your interviews, Alex?
Let's go. Let's do it.
All right. So first question: how do we feel in general about the Hawks and the Jackets this season? I'll start us off just to get my part out of the way. With the Hawks, 6th or 7th at best. Lost Dach from the whole year. Toews is out until who knows when. I don't know how the goalie situation is going to be interesting. If we somehow get lucky and get a lot of help on the offense from Brinket and Strome and everyone else, and whenever Toews gets back, if the defense steps up a lot better and if our goalies are good, we might be a surprise, but I don't really see that. The Jackets, I feel strongly they're going to finish in the top 3 in the Central, just because the Jackets are really solid. The goalie tandem of, a dream goalie tandem that you could ever have. Defense is solid, a lot of good offense. They might have gotten a little bit better on the offense. But I think the Jackets are having an overall good season.
Oh, I agree. I am very optimistic about this season. I'm not saying it's going to happen by any means, but from a Blue Jackets standpoint, if we're going to win the cup, this is the year. It is this year or next year, but it needs to be this year because, looking at our contracts, we have a lot of free agents that are coming up over the next 2 seasons. At the end of this upcoming season, we have Brandon Dubinsky, who we know he unfortunately is going to be done. Having wrist injuries, he can't play anymore. But then it's going to be Nick Foligno, Riley Nash, Mikko Koivu, Mikhail Grigorenko, and David Savard at the end of this season. And at the end of the 21-22 season, we're going to have Max Domi, Pierre-Luc Dubois again, Boone Jenner, Eric Robinson, Nathan Gerby, Seth Jones, Zach Werenski, Dean Kukin, Scott Harrington, Gabriel Carlson, Elvis Merzlikins, and Jonas Korpisalo. And some of those guys are going to walk. If I wholeheartedly believe, I love Seth Jones. He is a fantastic person and a great player. But if we don't do anything huge in the next 2 years, I honestly think he'll walk. So, I'm optimistic for the season. I really wish we had one more big scoring piece, but I'm not in charge of that. I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
I feel good about the season for us. I really do. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing what the new guys can bring. I'm excited to see guys like Cam and Boone and Nick Foligno step it up and see what they can do when the time matters. When it matters, I want to see what you can do. And if you can't cut it, then I want you gone. It's a business. It's not a popularity contest. I don't want to keep you just because I like you if you're terrible. I want to win the Stanley Cup. That's the only thing that matters.
Yeah, for sure.
It's one of those things. We'll see how it all plays out. But as of now, I feel good. I really do feel good about the season, how we're going to play off. So the next question we've got is, so it's kind of a 2-part question, but it's the same thing. Who is your favorite current player for the Blackhawks? And then who's your favorite all-time player for the Blackhawks? Now, I will start this question because, the Blue Jackets have about 8% of the history that the Blackhawks do. So there's less people. Right now, my favorite player has got to be Seth Jones. He is a solid defenseman. He's very good. He has a bright future, and he will win a Norris Trophy. It will happen. Favorite all-time player is not Rick Nash. I thought Rick Nash was great, but believe it or not, my favorite was Sergei Fedorov.
The
short time that we had
Jackets
him.
legend, Blue Jackets legend, Sergei.
Yeah. I liked him. I like Jeff Sanderson, old school defenseman. But I'll tell you what, I loved watching Sergei Fedorov the short time that we had him, and it was fun to watch him. But the little bit that we have, we don't have a lot of guys to pick from, because then they'll be with us for 1 year, an hour and a half, or something.
Didn't you guys have Adam Foote at one time?
Mm-hmm.
Or
yeah, we did.
Another Blue Jackets legend.
Yeah, sure thing.
Sorry, I like Adam Foote. Overall, but yeah, for the Blue Jackets, that's really tough for you guys. Not a whole lot to go with. For the Blackhawks, for me, it's Johnny. It's Jonathan Toews. Captain Sirius, El Capitan. The guy, 3 cups. Conn Smythe, just great leader. I think he's probably one of the best captains. Probably one of the top 10 captains of this generation, all time. He is the top 100 player of all time according to the NHL. Just you can't be the resume that he has. All time Blackhawks, I have to go with Eddie the Eagle, Eddie Belfour. The dude was just a straight legend. Unfortunately, he didn't win the cup because we had to run into the Penguins. Had to run into the Penguins at the wrong time with Mario, and I think they still had Ronnie Francis still, and they also had Jaromir Jagr. And man, I feel bad for Eddie, but yeah, Eddie Eagle is definitely, I think he's my all-time favorite Blackhawk. And everyone will be like, well, what about Stan Mikita and all those guys? I mean, all I can say is I've seen highlights. It's just unfortunately my time. I mean, I can say the same thing for Eddie Belfour and all those guys too, because I was born in '91, but it just overall just the style of what Eddie did, and I mean his helmets are iconic, so you can't hate on those helmets. But for me, it's Eddie the Eagle and Johnny Toews, all-time Blackhawks for sure. Right. But Stars and Blue Jackets, those aren't bad picks for you, man. I mean, Seth Jones. I like Zach Werenski. If I had to pick a Blue Jacket, I have to say Werenski is probably my favorite jacket currently all time. I really can't give you an all time because, like I said, outside of Nash and the short stint of Fedorov and Foote.
Yeah,
I'll say Adam Foote just for the kicks and giggles. But
I mean, we had that. We had David Viborny for a while. He was pretty cool, and none of these guys were huge names or anything. But
yeah, it's just for the jackets, it's tough. It's tough for me to pick an all time jacket. That's a tough one.
We had the all time Jackets legend Jack Johnson, who we won't even get started on that. But
so who would you pick for the Hawks if you had to pick some favorite Hawks?
Jeez, current, I would have to, man. I'd probably have to say Patty Kane, because he's just
how can
you not like him? I mean, he's a good guy, and he's so good. Though.
But his hand, the flow, the hands.
I would like him more if I could punch him in the face one time. Reason being,
why?
December 29th of 2019 is the Blue Jackets and Blackhawks game where we lost Jonas Korpisalo to an injury, and he was out for a couple months. Mm-hmm. And we ended up, first off, we should have won that game. All right, I'm going to put that out there. That BS at the end of the game where they didn't reset the clock. Zach Werenski scored. All right, he scored. I don't care. This conversation's over with because you can't convince me otherwise. But Corpy gets hurt, and then Elvis comes in for one person. All right, one person in the shootout. Of all freaking people, who does he get? Patrick Kane. And Patrick Kane makes him look like a middle school goalie. And it was hilarious.
Patrick Kane does it to everybody, though. It's not just because it's Elvis, but yeah.
I mean, I think that with that game, the benefit of it is we threw Elvis into the fire, and that's when just the magic happened. It all started New Year's Eve when we beat the Panthers when Zach Werenski got that hat trick, and that was fun. That was fun. Whole run was fun. Getting 5 shutouts in 8 games was unbelievable.
That was crazy,
and it was pretty cool. All time, I don't know a ton. I'd probably have to say Stan Mikita, just because he was good, man. I mean, he was a solid part of the Blackhawks for a while.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. Him, just the Hawks teams of the 60s. I mean, definitely for sure. I mean, like I said, people are going to be like, well, you need to pick Stan Mikita. I love Stan Mikita as just what the way Eddie Belfour played. It still kind of pains me that we actually had Dominik Hasek at one point.
Yeah.
And people don't know we used to have Dominik Hasek in the Blackhawks organization, and we let him go.
The one thing that a lot of people don't realize, so how funny is it looking back at old drafts and some of these other players knowing who that they technically were part of your organization at one point. Like the one that blows my mind, Jacob Voracek was drafted and played for the Blue Jackets for 3 seasons.
I forgot about that.
I just don't remember that. And then he went to the Flyers, and he is insane.
I forgot you guys had. Wow, I forgot you guys had Voracek at one point.
Yeah. And I don't remember. I think he was traded. I don't remember who we got, but that was a terrible trade.
Obviously, yeah, obviously it was. If you can't remember, he got back in that trade.
Oh, okay. So we traded him to the Flyers to get Jeff Carter, and he played with us for 1 year before he went to the Kings.
Oh, another Blue Jackets legend, Jeff Carter.
We have a lot of 1 to 3 year stints. Nobody wants to stay long, except like Cam Atkinson and Bjorkstrand and stuff like that. But yeah,
hopefully Corpy Merzli can stay there long term for you guys.
Oh, and okay, so this makes it even worse knowing this trade. Part of the package that we sent to Philadelphia was the 2011 first round pick, which ended up being Sean Couturier. Like, that just makes it so much worse for a legend.
Jeez. Well, I know for an off season, we're definitely going to have to do some playoff trees for off season episodes.
Absolutely.
Because I don't know if you've seen Sportsnet's that Steve Dingle did, but he did one for Wayne Gretzky, and that one is still going on.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we'll definitely have to do some trees later on. But man, we're going to 5 till midnight. We've been doing this since a little after 9 o'clock. We got so much going on. Like Alex said earlier, we are so sorry that this is a really long episode, but we had a lot to talk about. We trust us; these aren't going to be super long. It's just one of those things. But basically, going forward, we're going to record these on Saturday night. Probably have them edited and probably dropped Sunday morning, just so that way it's not sitting overnight and stuff like that. So that way, when you guys wake up, you'll get it in the morning. You can go through your Sundays, listen to us talk about hockey and all that good stuff. And we do have a YouTube channel, so the people who are going to watch the video version of this, sorry if I'm kind of distracting with my fidgeting and moving around. I'm sitting in my bedroom on the floor because we don't really have a proper desk, so I'm trying to get comfortable on this floor. So I am going to remedy that for episode 2. But for those watching on the YouTube version of this, sorry for the fidgeting for episode 1. But yeah, Alex, do you tell people where they can find us in terms of just the social medias for the podcast? I mean, like I said, we got a YouTube channel. It's Cannons and Tomahawks Podcast on YouTube, but let the people know where they can find us on the other socials for the podcast.
Oh, for sure. Obviously, you can find us on Twitter at Cannon Hawks Pod. We have a Facebook page as well. Go give us a like there. Give us a follow on Twitter. On Facebook, it's also Cannons and Tomahawks Podcast. We're going to have all the links and all the videos as well. And, if you find us on Twitter, we have links to everything else as well that you'll be able to find. When the podcast drop, you're going to be able to watch it on YouTube, and you can also get it on Spotify, iTunes, I think Google Play, and any other major podcasting areas that you get your stuff. But yeah, man, it's been fun. It's been fun.
Yeah, for sure, man. You can find us, like I said, on Twitter, so follow, subscribe, and all that. Subscribe, hit the bell on YouTube, gets all the videos. For me, you can find me on Twitter at Rytribe22. That's RYTRIBE 22. Alex, where can people find you on Twitter if they want to hit you up with some Blue Jackets talk and some of your not interesting takes after
on Twitter you'll be able to find me at A Nuttall, so it's NUTTLE_CBJ. If you find me or you find Zach, we're always tagging each other and talking to each other on there, so I'm sure you'll be able to find us. Give us a follow too. We have some other stuff that we put out that the podcast Twitter page doesn't get put out. We have some interesting takes on quite a bit of stuff that we may have forgotten about. We might not talk about it today. We might forget it on podcast. We'll throw it out on our Twitter. We might have it out on Facebook or anything like that. On the YouTube version, if you don't know how to spell anything, it's underneath. There's going to be a spot underneath our pictures. It's going to have our names and our Twitter handles. And also on the YouTube version, if you're watching this, on the top left corner, you're going to have the names and handles for all of our other social media pages that you're going to be able to find.
Yep. Whichever up here.
It's going to be over there.
Yeah. So make sure to check that out for sure. I know editing tonight. I'll get that edited. Like I said, I'll drop it tomorrow. I know Alex, you'll probably get editing with this at some point. I know we'll probably have a set schedule of when this will go on YouTube. But I know for the podcast, the audio version at least, I'll usually start recording I'll edit after we're done recording, and I'll drop it on Sundays so you guys can get through your Sundays with this podcast. But yeah, Alex, man, it's been a great week leading up to this. I was really excited to get this podcast going. Now we got our first episode pretty much almost done, and I'm excited for what comes next, man. And this is gonna be a fun season. This is a great season for us to start this podcast.
Oh yeah,
56 games and like 100 and something days. It's gonna be wild with division realignments and
it's gonna be
all of that.
A lot of hockey in a very short amount of time, with taking it day by day, because just like, look at the Stars. I mean, they lost 6 days, automatically get pushed back and came out of nowhere, all because of the wonderful virus.
Yeah, right. But until next time, guys, I would say cheers, but I don't have anything in my glass, but it is what it is. But guys, we will see you next Saturday here at the Cannons and Tomahawks podcast. Hope you guys have a great night. And until next time, we'll see you guys later.
Have a good one, guys.